Chapter 1036. Raising the star-piercing spear high up, Qiu Lang said proudly, "Who wants to challenge me?" Lin Muyu, Qin Yin, and Tang Xiaoxi all frowned in silence. There had always been people who didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and Qiu Lang, who had cultivated to the God-King realm, was actually so arrogant. He didn't even put the hundreds of God-Kings present in his eyes. This kind of person was even more frighteningly ignorant. Under Qiu Lang's provocation, the hundreds of people present actually didn't accept the challenge. Almost everyone just remained silent or chatted with each other. The treasure hunt ended too late, and it would only end at sunset. Anyone who went up now would only be courting death. The situation was in a deadlock until noon. After everyone finished their lunch, the treasure hunt continued. When the time was about to end, there was less than 2 hours left before sunset. Finally, someone accepted the challenge. It was a young cultivator with dual swords in his hands. He was from the Earth Carrier region. Swoosh! The young man walked on the wind and stood proudly on the high platform. His dual swords were naturally lowered as he said with a smile, "I am Wang Xiang of the Earth Carrier region. I hope Lord Qiu Lang can give me some pointers." Qiu Lang sat on the ground with the star-piercing spear across his legs. He was almost asleep, but Wang Xiang's appearance made him energetic. He immediately stood up and said with a smile, "Great, someone finally came to challenge me. Kid, don't talk so much. What are you going to use as a bargaining chip?" Wang Xiang raised his long sword lightly. "This pair of glazed dual sword has been with me for many years. It is a substandard divine artifact. It should be enough as a bargaining chip, right? Alright, I will take this pair of dual swords." Qiu Lang jumped up, and his figure blended into the flames. The long spear instantly pierced forward like a falling meteor towards Wang Xiang's chest. It had the momentum to pierce through his heart. However, Wang Xiang was no longer the Su Fei from before. He raised his dual glazed swords to parry. Ding! The two domain cyclones collided, and the air was filled with the sound of explosions. Qiu Lang quickly made his move, and for a moment, the sky was filled with layers of spear afterimages, filled with raging flames. Meanwhile, Wang Xiang's dual glazed sword swept through the flames. Qiu Lang's law of fire was fierce and overbearing, while Wang Xiang's law of wind was light and flexible. After exchanging nearly 20 moves, Wang Xiang suddenly shouted and crossed his two swords. With a dang sound, Qiu Lang's star-piercing spear was sent flying. Under Qiu Lang's horrified gaze, Wang Xiang swung his two swords continuously, leaving bloody gashes on Qiu Lang's chest. At least 20 slashes were launched in an instant, but none of them were fatal. Instead, Qiu Lang was so frightened that his face turned pale, and he knelt on the ground weakly. Why didn't you kill me?" Qiu Lang asked. "I'm not you, why would I want to kill you?" Wang Xiang abruptly kicked Qiu Lang off the stage. Cheers immediately rang out from below the stage. Wang Xiang is indeed worthy of being the earth-bearing region's imperial wind dragon. Xianxia clapped his hands and laughed. This battle, Wang Xiang wins, Qiu Lang loses. Wang Xiang politely bowed with his two swords hanging upside down on the stage, then looked indifferently at the audience, waiting for the next challenger. What a good dual sword style. Lin Muyu praised softly. To be able to maintain his composure after dozens of moves, this Wang Xiang sword style is indeed not simple. It's a pity that his cultivation is too low. If he had advanced to the God Emperor realm, he would definitely be a promising talent. Qin Yin smiled faintly, but didn't say anything. It was a good thing that Lin Muyu cherished talent. Otherwise, if she was jealous of talent, she wouldn't be able to achieve anything in the 64 regions, although most of the God realm experts here were like that. Tang Xiaoxi said, "Isn't Xiao Yin going to challenge? When will she go if not now?" "There's no rush, let's wait a little longer." Qin Yin pursed her red lips. "I want to see how many more experts have yet to fight." Yes. Before he had even finished speaking, a white-haired young man leapt onto the stage with a battle hammer in his hand. He propped the hammer against a divine crystal and said, "I am Lei Yumming, the leader of the Purple Thunder Hall of the Thunderized Zone. I am here to challenge you with a third-tier god artifact, the Purple Thunder Hammer." The purple thunder hammer was a third-grade divine weapon. This Lei Yuming was also a God Emperor realm expert, and the power of 68 waves could be faintly seen between his breaths. Wang Xiang frowned. Lei Yuming? What can I? Lei Yuming smiled faintly and pressed the seal of life and death on the guard's tray. Wang Xiang, let's have a showdown at the treasure-seizing assembly today. Very well, I couldn't ask for more. Wang Xiang raised his eyebrows. Even though he was facing an opponent with a higher cultivation level, he still revealed an eagerness to fight. This was a rare sight. Below the stage, Feng Zhanlin whispered, I'm afraid this battle won't end so easily. Why do you say so? Lin Muyu asked. Feng Zhanlin said, Lin General, you may not know this, but the Earth-bearing region and Thunderized region are adjacent to each other, and the two regions are constantly at war. Just a few days ago, there was a bloody battle in which 3 God Realm experts died, and one of them was Lei Yuming's brother, Lei Yusong. Moreover, the one who killed Lei Yusong is this Wang Xiang, so the two are mortal enemies. Lei Yuming will definitely kill him. Oh, I see. Lin Muyu was relieved. I just hope Wang Xiang doesn't die on the stage. After all, the disparity in strength was too great. Wang Xiang was only a god king with 58 grotto heavens, but his opponent was a god emperor with a third-grade divine weapon. Be it in terms of strength or weapon, Wang Xiang didn't have the upper hand. As they spoke, the sparks and lightning clashed on the stage. Lei Yuming's battle technique was vigorous and powerful. He waved his warhammer like a fortress, and lightning wreaked havoc, forming a sharp force field. Wang Xiang could only swing his sword and use the law of wind to try to cut into Lei Yuming's force field, but he couldn't do anything. In the blink of an eye, Wang Xiang's god wall started to crumble. It's over, Wang Xiang is going to lose. Tang Xiaoxi curled her lips. Lin Muyu's god power was already surging in her body, and she looked like she was about to make a move. Mu, you want to make a move? Tang Xiaoxi asked in shock. No, I want to save him. Lin Muyu squinted her eyes. It's enough to decide the victor, there's no need to decide life and death. I'm going to save Wang Xiang. On the stage, lightning surged. After close to 30 rounds of fighting, Lei Yuming roared, and used his absolute strength to completely destroy Wang Xiang's god wall. The purple thunder hammer swept across, and before it could even reach Wang Xiang's glass dual sword, Wang Xiang's eyes were wide open, and he could only watch as the purple thunder hammer destroyed his body. Don't kill him. On the Earth Carrier region spectator stand, the region lord had already stood up, but he didn't really go forward to stop it. Instead, a figure appeared between Wang Xiang and Lei Yuming, with shocking speed. A smear of golden light shone. It was the Xianyuan sword, and it went straight for the purple thunder hammer. Pang! The air current surged, accompanied by golden radiance and raging flames. Lin Muyu's power was extremely strong. Although she was only defending, she was still able to send Lei Yuming, who was also a celestial the arch, flying more than 10 meters away. For a moment, Wang Xiang was stunned. Lin? Alliance Lord Lin? Lei Yuming almost wanted to avenge his brother. He couldn't help but roar. Lin Muyu, what is the meaning of this? Don't you know that bystanders shouldn't participate in a fight? This is a one-on-one duel, not a gang fight. Lin Muyu's face was apologetic. She smiled. I know I shouldn't interfere in your duel, but obviously Wang Xiang has lost. You don't need to take his life, right? Saying that, Lin Muyu turned around. Wang Xiang, admit defeat, at least you can live. Wang Xiang was still in shock. He reluctantly handed over the glass dual sword. Lei Yuming, Wang Xiang, admit defeat. Saying that, he said in a low voice, Alliance Lord Lin, thank you. Wang Xiang, will forever remember your life-saving grace. No need to be polite, go back. N. Wang Xiang floated away, and when Lin Muyu was about to leave, Lei Yuming roared, Lin Muyu, stop right there. What's wrong? Lin Muyu floated in the air, looking at her opponent. Her Qiyu armor reflected a majestic and beautiful luster under the sunlight, and the Xianyuan sword in her hand surged with an invincible momentum. Lei Yuming was taken aback by Lin Muyu's aura. How could a mere junior have such an outstanding aura? Lei Yuming couldn't understand it, but since he had called out to Lin Muyu, he needed an explanation. Lei Yuming braced himself and said, "This is a grudge between our Thunderrise region and Earthbearing region. Who do you think the Dragon Alliance is? Do you think you can uphold justice with numbers? Don't make me laugh my head off. Since you, Lin Muyu, are here as the leader of the Dragon League, then don't leave, at least not before you defeat me." "But I don't want to fight you," Lin Muyu said lightly. "Why?" "You're too weak." "You." Lei Yuming was so angry that his knuckles cracked. "Your Dragon League dares to cause trouble, yet you don't dare to take responsibility? Come, win against my purple thunder hammer first." Then, Lin Muyu gripped the Xinyuan sword. She didn't want to fight so early, but now she was a little shaken. This Lei Yuming really didn't know the immensity of heaven and earth, and needed to be taught a lesson. At this time, Qin Yin suddenly stood up. "You, let me do it." "Xiao Yin wants to fight?" "Let's fight," Lin Muyu said cheerfully. "Then I'll let you have this stupid cow. Just defeat it but don't kill it." Qin Yin leapt onto the stage, but her feet didn't touch the ground. She took out a sharp sword and said, "Stellar sword, a substandard god artifact. I'll use it as a bargaining chip." Lei Yuming couldn't help but be stunned. The beauty in front of him looked familiar. He seemed to have seen her at the Dragon Alliance's founding ceremony. However, he didn't know that she was also a godly state expert. He thought that she was just Lin Muyu's woman. After Qin Yin made a hand seal, she put away the stellar sword and put her hands together in front of her chest, then separated. Suddenly, a bright light began to gather, and in the blink of an eye, it turned into a radiant zither. It was the zither of Nuwa. Quietly standing in the air, Qin Yin smiled. "Please enlighten me." "Don't think I won't hit you just because you're a woman." Lei Yuming shouted. "Lin Muyu is meddling in other people's business. His woman deserves to be hit. Do you have what it takes?" Qin Yin's lips curled into a beautiful dimple. "If I don't, I'll just get beaten up." "Oomph." Lei Yuming raised his warhammer and swept out with a buzzing sound, giving off an aura that could shake mountains and seas. Chapter 1037. Qin Yin's beautiful and graceful figure was wrapped in a light red, wide-sleeved cloud dress. She rotated gently in the air, accompanied by the beautiful melody of the Nuwa zither. Suddenly, waves of wind power swirled rapidly, isolating Lei Yuming's flame power. It seemed that Qin Yin was dancing in the flames, but in fact, she was not hurt at all. Pang! The purple thunder hammer was knocked back in mid-air, the lightning energy rampaging through the air. Lei Yuming's face was full of shock. He didn't even know what had blocked his attack. That was the power of the wind and space laws. With Lei Yuming's cultivation, he naturally couldn't see it. Qin Yin didn't say anything. Her fingers moved like butterflies, and in the blink of an eye, a few strands of the Nuwa zither's first move flew out. Each strand was a profound attack. Ha! Lei Yuming was a god emperor after all. His warhammer suddenly smashed a zither note onto the ground. Immediately, golden light burst forth. That was the power of the light element. Lei Yuming's eyes were almost blinded. His entire body felt like it was being burned by fire. Only the heavens knew how this girl could fuse the power of light, space, and wind element at the same time. When the second strand of music arrived, Lei Yuming couldn't block it anymore. He could only dodge. He leaped up, and the strand of music flew past his feet, hitting the divine crystals behind him. There was a buzzing sound, and even the surface of the divine crystals started to peel. It was easy to imagine how powerful Qin Yin's attack was. Buzz! The third strand of music couldn't be avoided, and it destroyed Lei Yuming's divine wall. The power passed through his body, and for a moment, Lei Yuming's body was in chaos. He fell to the ground and vomited blood. He hurriedly raised his arm. "I admit defeat." Qin Yin smiled faintly and stopped her attack. With a light brush of her palm, the Nuwa zither nimbly circled around her slender waist and hung naturally on her back. Then, she bowed gently and said, "Thank you for letting me win." Lei Yuming coughed a few more times. This time, he left the purple thunder hammer, cupped his fists, and walked off the stage. "Haha! Wonderful! It's absolutely brilliant." Below the stage, Xianxia clapped his hands and laughed. Lady Qin Yin's martial arts cultivation is so high, it's really surprising. In our prehistoric mystery realm, it's really rare for a woman to be able to cultivate to this level. With Miss Qin Yin's cultivation, I'm sure she's highly regarded in Dragon City. At the very least, she's a region lord, right? Qin Yin smiled faintly. You flatter me, domain lord. I'm not a hall master. I'm just Brother Yu's maid. Oh, when did you become a maid? Our great empress. Tang Xiaoxi chuckled. Lin Muyu was also speechless. Qin Yin's words were too flattering for her. However, who was Xianxia? How could he not understand? He immediately smiled and said, Leader Lin of the Dragon League has a beauty like Lady Qin Yin. He has no regrets in life. It's so enviable. Lin Muyu was very satisfied with this. She said loudly, since it's a competition for treasures, then treasures should be the priority. So, my Xiao Yin is on the stage. Please teach me, but don't fight with your lives. Lin Muyu thanks everyone here. Shi Yan and Tang Xiaoxi both smiled. Lin Muyu's words were a bit like a warning to the tiger. The Mai Xiao Yin had already made her position clear. If anyone hurt Qin Yin, they would probably offend the entire Dragon League. Currently, the Dragon League was powerful enough to dominate the entire southern region of the 64 regions. Who would dare to not give them some face? After a few minutes, the next challenger appeared. It was the region lord of the Fire Qilin region, Xinjun. He was an elder over 1,000 years old, but his cultivation had reached 85 grotto heavens. He held an iron staff in his hand and looked hale and hearty. He stood proudly in the sky and said with a smile, This old man is Xinjun. Please teach me, Lady Qin Yin. This Xianming staff is a third-class divine artifact. Let's use it as a bargaining chip. Qin Yin bowed gracefully and said with a smile, Then, Region Lord Xinjun, please teach me. Alright. Xinjun let out a low roar and waved the Xianming staff in the air. Suddenly, the sky changed color, and a storm swirled rapidly. It was as if he could summon wind and thunder. Xinjun cultivated the laws of wind and thunder. Furthermore, he had cultivated them for thousands of years. One could imagine how profound his skills were. As the Xianming staff danced, bolts of lightning shot towards Qin Yin, who was on the high platform, like giant palms. Everyone was astonished. The people of the Fire Qilin region either didn't make a move or their attacks were so frightening. This Xinjun might be an elder, but the might of his attacks far surpassed those in the prime of their lives. On the ground, Qin Yin's hands lightly stroked the strings of the zither. Instantly, the wind blew and a strong gale wrapped around her elegant figure, protecting her from the corrosion of the wind and thunder. At the same time, she activated the second move of Nuwa's zither score, Nimble Movement. The sound of the zither rang out and rays of spiritual light rushed into the sky, clashing with Xinjun's lightning power. Instantly, the entire longevity altar turned dark. Two experts fighting against each other was a rare sight. Alright again. After the first wave of attacks was blocked by Qin Yin, Xinjun's battle intent rose. He waved the Xianming staff repeatedly and sent down even stronger lightning power. At this moment, he didn't seem like the lord of a region, but more like a fierce god that could summon the wind and rain. Amidst the countless whirlwinds, Qin Yin's long dress fluttered and her beautiful face had a trace of worry. Spirit pearls of law emerged from her body, looking magnificent and magnificent. At the same time, under the summon of the power, the golden god-binding chains hidden in the depths of her body also danced and spread out, like golden kelp in the deep sea. And it was precisely because of this that Qin Yin looked like a fairy singing in the deep sea, stunning all the men present. Even a god would still be moved after seeing such a beautiful scene. Thus, at this moment, everyone wished that old man Xinjun in the sky could die immediately. No one cared if he was a senior or not. If he dared to destroy such a beautiful thing, then he was a bastard. However, there was no need for everyone to curse him. After Qin Yin displayed the power of the Master God Lattice, her aura still reversed. The zither sounds interweaved in the air and in less than 50 moves, Xinjun was already overwhelmed. Enough! Suddenly, Shinjun, who was in the sky, put down the Xianming staff and said while panting, Miss Qin-yin, I admit defeat. My asthma is about to act up. Qin-yin was stunned. Shinjun landed quickly, put down the Xianming staff, and walked down the stage with his hands clasped behind his back like an angry old cadre. What a straightforward region lord. Everyone started to like Shinjun again. Qin-yin floated in the air above the high platform. Her messy skirt was smoothed out like a waterfall, but her little face had become red. The battle just now had consumed at least 20% of her divine power. After all, Shinjun's strength was not fake. He was a dignified 85 heavenly abode emperor. If it was an ordinary god state expert, they would have knelt down and begged for mercy and admitted defeat. However, Qin-yin defeated him with the cultivation of 77 heavenly abode realm. She had already proved herself. Miss Qin-yin wins. Region Lord Shinjun loses. Xianxia announced loudly and continued, there's not much time left. Who else wants to challenge Miss Qin-yin of the Dragon League? Please go up the stage now. The stalemate lasted for less than 3 minutes. All the regions were talking about it. In the end, someone from the Yinjiang region and the Fongjin region stood up and floated up. He was a middle-aged man who was about 40 years old. He cupped his fists and said with a smile, I'm Jiang Yuyang, the region lord of the Yinjiang region. Please enlighten me, Miss Qin-yin. As he spoke, he took out a pair of short knives. The 2 knives were so short that they were less than 20 centimeters long. However, the cold light on the blades was very scary. Jiang Yuyang smiled faintly and said, My weapons are called emerald dual knives. They are famous for close combat. So, Miss Qin-yin, you'd better be careful. Don't let me get close to you. Otherwise, you'll be in danger. Thank you for the reminder, Region Lord. Qin-yin nodded happily. After Jiang Yuyang signed the life and death contract, he stood on the high platform and faced Qin-yin from afar. He held his 2 sabers in a reverse grip and lowered his center of gravity slightly. Streaks of dark light flowed on the surface of his body, and he disappeared in the blink of an eye. Disappeared? He disappeared. The experts of the major domains were all dumbfounded. Very few people had ever seen Jiang Yuyang make a move, but this time, it was too strange. Disappearing, this was not as simple as breaking through the void or flying at high speed. This was disappearing without leaving a trace. He didn't disappear. Lin Muyu frowned and said, It's the dark light rule. I've seen it in the Sparrow region. Feng Zhanlin said, That's right. It's the dark light rule. Only those who practice the dark light rule can disappear without a trace. It's a camouflage. However, this Jiang Yuyang's dark light rule is much more powerful and profound than the one Lin general killed by mistake. Note that one. I can't remember his name. I couldn't find it when I went back. Let's just treat it as that one. Looks like Xiao Yin is getting serious this time. Tang Xiaoxi pursed her lips and smiled. She's always been serious. Lin Muyu looked at the stage and saw that Qin-yin had already activated the first form of Nuwa's zither music score. Storms swirled around her, not giving her opponent any chance to attack. However, she couldn't sense Jiang Yuyang's position at all. That was the scariest part. Where is he? Where is he? Qin-yin squinted her beautiful eyes and looked at the void around her. She couldn't sense Jiang Yuyang's aura at all. After nearly half a minute, a cold glint suddenly attacked from behind. It had appeared. Qin-yin quickly turned around. She didn't have time to gather her music, so she used Nuwa strings to block it. As expected, a small jade knife chopped on the strings. Unfortunately, Nuwa was a first-class artifact. The jade knife couldn't even cut through the strings. Just as the jade knife left her forehead, Qin-yin waved her hand. The music turned into a shockwave and swept out. Swoosh, Jiang Yuyang was extremely fast. He quickly hid in the darkness and entered the dark light invisibility state again. However, this time, Qin-yin wouldn't be careless. She opened her eyes gently and a golden light burst out. The eyes of blazing light was fully activated. Hum hum hum. The surrounding area was quickly controlled by the eyes of blazing light. Even the people from the 8 regions who were watching from below the stage felt uncomfortable, as if they were about to be evaporated. What is that? What kind of power is that? Everyone was frightened by the eyes of blazing light. Jiang Yuyang's figure appeared in the rising flames. He had nowhere to hide. Chapter 1038. Flames rose and evaporated. Moreover, these were not pure flames, but flames derived from the scorching law of light. Their lethality was even more astonishing. Although it was only a domain, it already made Jiang Yuyang feel like he was in a purgatory cage. Every inch of his skin was burning under the blazing light, and it was almost impossible for him to move. However, Jiang Yuyang was an 86th Celestial the Arch-Expert, and also the Lord of a domain. How could he admit defeat so easily? He swung the daggers in his hands, and his body spun rapidly like a windmill. Qin Yin took advantage of the opportunity to bring along the Nuwa zither, and the simple and exquisite zither was tied to her back. She raised the star's sword with both hands, and suddenly, rays of light rose sharply. With a weng-weng sound, the sharp sword released hundreds and thousands of sword shadows. It was the first strike of Shi Yan's 7 strikes, split. Dang 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 dang. Sparks flew everywhere, and in an instant, the weapons of both sides collided nearly 100 times. Jiang Yuyang felt a chill in his heart. He originally thought that the sword shadows produced by Qin Yin were all illusions, but he didn't expect that every sword shadow was real, and his arm was numb and hot. Be careful. Qin Yin's smile seemed to be able to melt glaciers, and it made Jiang Yuyang, who was shrouded in flames, tremble. But the next moment, an even sharper sword broke through the wind. Shi Yan's 7 slashes, second strike, judgment. At this moment, 4 golden wings of light gradually appeared behind Qin Yin's back. They were dazzling and gorgeous. Jiang Yuyang was forced to take a few steps back by the impact of judgment. Without any hesitation, he immediately launched 2 consecutive attacks, destruction and mercy. When Qin Yin retracted her sword and turned around, all the domains around her were frozen. Even the rising flames were condensed in the air. Jiang Yuyang's perlicue had been shaken to the point of bleeding, and he couldn't move at all. At this time, if Qin Yin wanted to take his life, it was simply too simple. Miss Qin Yin, I admit defeat. A wise man knew better than to fight when the odds were against him. Jiang Yuyang quickly said, I am willing to leave the emerald dual daggers, I am convinced. Qin Yin quickly dispersed her divine power and said with a smile, Thanks for letting me win. When Jiang Yuyang put down his sabers, Xianxia announced, Miss Qin Yin of the Dragon League wins. Jiang Yuyang, the region lord of the Yinjiang region, loses. He purposely emphasized the words Silver River region lord. Jiang Yuyang's face was immediately filled with shame, and he angrily walked off the stage. At this moment, all the people in the 8 southern regions were silent, including the region lords. Almost everyone was thinking about how unfathomable the strength of the Dragon League was. A beautiful girl beside Lin Muyu could defeat Shinjun and Jiang Yuyang, who were at the level of region lords. Tang Xiaoxi could not be any worse. Moreover, the most terrifying one should be Shi Yan, who was the most leisurely one. She was the strongest one. Looking at Lin Muyu, as the powerful lord of the Dragon League, he showed prudence and kindness. It seemed that the Dragon League had great ambitions. No one knew what the real purpose of the Dragon League was. Perhaps, it was the whole 64 regions? Is there anyone else who wants to challenge Miss Qin Yin? Zheng Xian glanced at the setting sun in the distance. The sun was about to set. Once the battle was over, the star chess, 100-segment staff, jade dual knives, glazed dual swords, and other treasures would all belong to Qin Yin. The final winner would be the Dragon League, who had come from afar. Below the stage, a group of region lords were silent. Suddenly, Jiang Yuyang, who had just lost, rushed to Murong Tianxing and said, Region Lord Murong, you are the #1 expert of the Tianxing region, and also a famous expert. If you don't go and challenge Miss Qin Yin, I'm afraid that the limelight of this treasure-seizing conference will be stolen by the Dragon League. Murong Tianxing gracefully sat on his seat and cupped his fists with a smile. No need to be so polite. Miss Qin Yin is my friend, how could I make a move? Moreover, Miss Qin Yin's talent is unparalleled. Her becoming the champion of this treasure-seizing conference is also expected by everyone. Jiang Yuyang snorted, but didn't say anything. The deputy region lord next to him sneered. Murong Tianxing has always prided himself on being a benevolent gentleman. He would never make a move against a woman, let alone such an outstanding beauty. Murong Tianxing must have heard it, but he just smiled and didn't say anything. Shen Jun laughed and said, "It seems that the champion of this treasure-seizing conference is definitely Miss Qin Yin. This old man congratulates the Dragon League and Lord Lin." Everyone knew that the treasures in this treasure-seizing conference were secondary. What mattered the most was the strength of a region. In this era of great competition, whoever was stronger would be more trustworthy. Once Qin Yin became the champion, the prestige and status of the Dragon League in the 8 southern regions would be unparalleled. On the stage, Qin Yin was still hugging the Nuwa zither, quietly floating in the air. Her eyes were indifferent as she looked at everyone around her. She didn't care about the treasures. What she really cared about was how strong she could become. Training her cultivation was the real purpose of this trip. Just when everyone thought that Qin Yin was about to become the champion, suddenly, a strange and eerie voice came from the great hall far away from the longevity altar. In the dignified 64 regions, there is actually no one who can deal with a little girl. What a shame, what a joke. This old man feels ashamed for you region lords. This voice was extremely eerie, as if it came from a grave, making everyone's hair stand on end. Everyone looked over and saw a man in a black robe slowly walking over from the great hall. His footsteps seemed slow, but his speed was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, he was already on the longevity altar. A faint sound of thunder came from the scabbard on his back. 3 flying swords shuttled back and forth, and a cloud of blood rapidly condensed in the air. "Who is it?" Feng Zhanlin shouted from the stand. Lin Muyu also stood up and said, "Take off your cloak, let us see who you are, and whether you are qualified to participate in this treasure-seizing assembly." "Quick!" "Hee!" The newcomer laughed ferociously. He slowly took off his cloak, revealing his white hair and beard. It was an old man, but his face was very frightening. It didn't look like a human's face at all. It was full of ulcers and traces of ulcers, and even one of his eyes was gone, turning into a rotten hole. The other eye was glowing with a faint green light, making everyone's heart tremble. Dongfang Yan. Murong Tianxing recognized him. After all, the flying swords on Dongfang Yan's back hadn't changed. The names of the flying swords were also known by the people of the 8 southern regions: Rainbow Light, Morning Dew, Flaming Blade. The flying swords were still there, but Dongfang Yan looked neither human nor ghost. His face was almost rotten, and the 3 flying swords also contained a very strong death aura. Dongfang Yan sneered and said, "This old man's raging fire region has been invaded, and now I have joined the Falling Star region, and was appointed as a protector by the region lord Xianxia. Do I, as a protector of the Falling Star region, have the qualifications to participate in the treasure-seizing assembly?" Xianxia said, "Of course you do." But Murong Tianxing frowned and said, "Why did the region lord Dongfang become like this? Could it be that you have already entered the corpse-nurturing forbidden area to practice the death-forbidden art? The region lord Dongfang should know that the death-forbidden art in the corpse-nurturing planes is the shame of the divine world. The 64 regions have already issued a wanted order. Anyone who practices the death-forbidden art will be killed." Dongfang Yan laughed loudly, and suddenly opened his palm. Immediately, a dark death energy lingered in the air, turned into a cold wind, and rushed towards Murong Tianxing. "You!" Murong Tianxing's hands quickly formed a circle, and his long sword whistled as it met Dongfang Yan's attack head-on. Bang! At the same time that Dongfang Yan's attack was dispersed, Murong Tianxing was also forced to retreat in a sorry state. He heavily crashed on the stone steps, and shattered countless stones. Dongfang Yan sneered and said, "Power is power. What's the difference between divine power and the death-forbidden art? It's simply nonsense." Those old rules were abandoned thousands of years ago, and Region Lord Murong is the leader of a region. How can you be so inflexible? In short, I, Dongfang Yen, must participate in this treasure-seizing assembly. There's not much time left. Is Miss Qin ready? Murong Tianxing saw that he couldn't stop Dongfang Yen, so he shouted, Miss Qin, be careful of the death-forbidden art. Qin nodded, thank you, Region Lord. At the same time, Lin Muyu flew into the air and stood on the stage, facing Dongfang Yen. Raising her hand, she said, Xiao Yin, you can go down. This is the grudge between me and Dongfang Yen. Let us settle it. Qin Yin couldn't bear it and said, Brother Yu always lets me stand behind him, as if Xiao Yin will always be a burden to Brother Yu. This time, let Xiao Yin try first? I also want to protect you this once. Lin Muyu was slightly taken aback. She could not help but feel a pang in her heart. For so many years, Qin Yin had been desperately chasing after her cultivation and realm. Wasn't it all for the sake of being worthy of her? If he refuted her here, how could it be said that he loved her? He coldly looked at Dongfang Yen and didn't say anything. Dongfang Yen also looked at him with one eye, and his eyes were full of hatred. He sneered, Leader Lin, don't worry. I will take good care of your confidant. Lin Muyu frowned. Xiao Yin, you must be careful. Don't try to be brave. If you can't defeat him, immediately admit defeat. Everyone and I will protect you. Qin Yin nodded with a smile. Don't worry, it'll be fine. Okay. Lin Muyu slowly walked down the stage and didn't return to her seat. She raised her hand and pulled out the Xianyuan sword, standing under the stage like a god of war. At such a close distance, even if Qin Yin really couldn't defeat him, at least Lin Muyu could save her in time. On the stage, the masters of the Dragon League were all moved. Luo Xintian even pouted and said, Leader, you care so much about Miss Qin Yin, it's really enviable. If only there was a man who treated me so well. Niu Geng said quickly, I can do it too. First, you are not as strong as leader. Second, you are not as handsome as leader. Humph, I don't need you to protect me. Luo Xintian didn't appreciate it. Big Cow touched the back of his head, silently protesting against this world that only cared about appearances. Can we start? Dongfang Yan's smile was full of killing intent, and it was extremely hideous and ugly. Chapter 1039. Qin Yin's eyes were filled with caution. With a single pluck of the zither, countless whirlwinds were created. She had to set up layers of protection around herself in order to defend against Dongfang Yan's attack. Dongfang Yan's power had already reached the 90th Great Perfection Divine Emperor realm. Now that he had sacrificed his body to cultivate the death-forbidden technique, his power must have increased by a lot. She had to be on guard. Brother Yu, watch carefully. Qin Yin's voice passed into Lin Muyu's ears like a thin thread. He couldn't help but be stunned. Was Qin Yin using herself as bait to draw out Dongfang Yan's unique skill? Lin Muyu had mixed feelings. Qin Yin must have also felt the threat from Dongfang Yan. The irresistible power of death had surpassed Qin Yin's divine power of light. It seems that she is ready. Dongfang Yan smiled ferociously and did not move at all. He put his hands together in front of his chest and mumbled. Suddenly, blood-red air waves rose from his body and countless black fogs spread rapidly around him. 3 flying swords were unsheathed with a dang-dang-dang sound and attacked Qin Yin with the roar of ghosts and devils. Bang bang bang, light splashed. Qin Yin confronted the flying swords with the zither of Nuwa. Waves of sound collided with the flying swords shrouded in the power of death, bringing out layers of shock waves. For a moment, the sky changed color, ghosts cried and gods howled. No one could see clearly what kind of battle was happening in the core. They only knew that the momentum in the space was cold and fluctuating. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword and looked up at the battle on the high platform. Beads of sweat oozed from his forehead. Dongfang Yan's power of death almost completely crushed Qin Yin's divine power of light. Swoosh! A golden light penetrated the dark air mass of Dongfang Yan, but disappeared in the blink of an eye. That was Qin Yin's attempt to penetrate Dongfang Yan's realm of death with divine power of light, but it was in vain. As time passed, Lin Muyu's hand, which was holding the sword, began to tremble. Qin Yin's power of the Lord of Light was decreasing, while Dongfang Yan's power seemed to be getting stronger as the battle went on. The dark air mass in the air turned into many demonic shadows and kept attacking the core. Lin Muyu tried her best to sense with the spiritual pulse spell, but she could only see Qin Yin struggling with the Nuwa zither in the core. Xiao Yin. He suddenly felt a sharp pain in his chest. Clang. With the sound of the zither strings, it was the sound of the flying sword hitting the Nuwa zither. The next moment, the golden light surged and completely broke through the death qi that Dongfang Yan had condensed. Qin Yin was kneeling there quietly, with the Nuwa zither beside her legs, while Dongfang Yan was standing a few meters away with a flying sword in his hand. Black blood flowed from the corners of his mouth, and he was breathing heavily. Miss Qin Yin won? Shen Jun asked in astonishment. I think so. Feng Zhanlin was also pleasantly surprised. We won? Miss Qin Yin won? But on the stage, Qin Yin did not move at all. Suddenly, she spat out a mouthful of blood on the zither strings, while Dongfang Yan threw a flying sword straight at Qin Yin's chest with all his strength and roared, "Go to hell, little girl!" Buzz. With falling star steps, Lin Muyu anxiously rushed to the stage and stood in front of Qin Yin. He waved the Shen Yuan sword and knocked away Dongfang Yan's flying sword with a heavy blow. His face was full of anger. Do you want to kill me? Come on, I'll fight with you. However, at this moment, Xianxia, who was below the stage, said, Chief Lin, this is against the rules. Miss Qin Yin has to admit defeat first before you can challenge the winner. Otherwise, won't you be bullying her with numbers? Lin Muyu gritted his teeth. At this moment, Qin Yin fell down. He hurriedly picked her up and looked at Dongfang Yan coldly. I'll settle the score with you later. At this time, Tang Xiaoxi, Shi Yan, Luo Xingtian and the others also rushed over. Lin Muyu put Qin Yin on the ground and held her hand tightly. He used his own healing ability to dispel the power of death that invaded Qin Yin's heart meridian. Let me try. Shi Yan closed her eyes and swept her palm over Qin Yin's body with the light. The light became colder and colder, and she frowned more and more. Obviously, Qin Yin's injury was far more serious than she had imagined. Sister Xian, how is it? Lin Muyu was anxious. How could she wait? Shi Yan was silent. After a while, she said, use your healing power to protect her heart meridian. I'll try to use the light power of the blazing angel to dispel the power of darkness. You, don't be anxious. If you lose your composure, Xin will really be in danger. And I'll calm down. Lin Muyu's heart was in a mess. At this time, Dongfang Yan's arrogant laughter came from behind. The winner of the winning streak has been defeated. Who else wants to challenge this old man's power? The power that Qin Yin had displayed before was so strong that even Shen Jun, Jiang Yuyang, and other domain lords were easily defeated. But in less than the time it takes for a stick of incense to burn, she was defeated by Dongfang Yan. This could only mean that Dongfang Yan was much stronger. Who else would dare to challenge Dongfang Yan? Among the crowd, only Murong Tianxing stood up. The sword in his hand glowed with a bright light. With a low voice, he said, since ancient times, evil has never won. We cultivators should follow the will of the heavens and subdue demons. Now that Domain Lord Dongfang is willing to enter the corpse-nurturing planes to cultivate, you have already fallen into the demonic path. You are no longer a member of the righteous path. Good and evil cannot coexist. Murong Tianxing is willing to learn from you. Dongfang Yan couldn't help but laugh. So it's Domain Lord Murong? Good. In the entire southern region of the 64 domains, only you, Murong Tianxing, can be considered a character. Please enlighten me. Without any etiquette, Murong Tianxing pulled out his sword and stabbed towards Dongfang Yan. The sword looked simple, but the wind was piercingly cold. There was a squeaking sound in the air, which made Dongfang Yan's body feel sluggish. It was almost impossible for him to dodge the sword. Murong Tianxing cultivated in the laws of wind and space. The law of space was a manifestation of a domain. Murong Tianxing's ability to control his strength and the pressure of his domain could be counted on one's fingers even in the 64 domains. Moreover, Murong Tianxing's natural disposition was magnanimous and uninhibited. This was also the reason why he was able to become the youngest domain lord in the 64 domains. Good. Dongfang Yan's roar was like that of a wild beast. Suddenly, he opened his arms, and the nails on his fingers grew a few centimeters long. He got down on all fours and charged towards Murong Tianxing ferociously. He didn't look like a godly state cultivator at all, he looked like a wild beast. However, the power he displayed was above the 90th heavenly layer. Ping, ping, ping. Streams of death chi collided with the spatial walls that Murong Tianxing had set up. White energy grids appeared in the air, and Murong Tianxing pierced through them with his sword, looking like a celestial being. However, the difference in power caused his face to turn ashen. Dongfang Yan continued to smash the energy grids, and the 3 flying swords in the air were constantly chasing after Murong Tianxing's position. Clang! The flying sword Qin Lu heavily collided with Murong Tianxing's sword. Immediately, Murong Tianxing's arm became numb and his breathing became chaotic. At this moment, he realized how powerful Qin Yin was to be able to withstand Dongfang Yan's crazy attacks for the time it takes for an incense stick to burn. Immediately, he clenched his teeth and released his strongest power. He continued to fight with Dongfang Yan, looking for his flaws. Below the stage, Lin Muyu hugged Qin Yin tightly. Rays of Fuxi's divine power appeared on the surface of her body. She was transferring her divine power to Qin Yin to stop the death energy from devouring her heart meridians. However, it didn't seem to be of any use. On the contrary, Qin Yin's Lord Godhead was protecting her. If not for the Lord Godhead, Qin Yin might have already died. The death forbidden technique was extremely vicious. You can't do this," Shi Yan said softly. "Even if you give Xin all your power, you still won't be able to save her. She can only rely on herself to protect herself. Quickly stop, you will damage your own power." Lin Muyu hugged Qin Yin while trembling. "It's all my fault, it's all my fault. If only I didn't let Xiao Yin accept the challenge. It's all my fault, it's all my fault. How can you be blamed for this? This is just a trap set by the Luoxing domain. They have Dongfang Yan as their trump card to destroy the elites of the 7 domains and then dominate the 8 southern domains." Dongfang Yan. Lin Muyu gently handed Qin Yin to Shi Yan. She grabbed the Xianyuan sword with one hand and said, "We can't let Dongfang Yan live. I'm going to get rid of him. Sister Xian and Xiao Shi, take care of Xiao Yin. You have to be careful, okay?" Just as Lin Muyu was about to leave, his hand was suddenly grabbed. He turned around and found Qin Yin looking at him weakly. Her beautiful eyes were full of reluctance. "Xiao Yin." He hurriedly knelt beside Qin Yin. Qin Yin whispered weakly, "Brother Yu, be careful of the death-forbidden technique. Dongfang Yan can devour our power and make it his own." Devour power? Lin Muyu was stunned. Qin Yin's breath was very weak. She said, "The law of power is about life and death, and our power is born from the Qi Si. It disappears between heaven and earth. In the Qi Si, it is life, in the heaven and earth, it is death. Our power dissipating means death to Dongfang Yan. He can turn our dissipating power into his own, so we have to use continuous attacks to quickly get rid of him. We can't let Dongfang Yan keep absorbing power, or else you will definitely lose." As she spoke, Qin Yin violently coughed a few times. Her face became even paler. Xiao Yin. Lin Muyu held her hand tightly. "Be careful." After Qin Yin said these 2 words, she fainted again. On the stage, there were many lights and shadows. Murong Tianxing's power had already been exhausted to a very weak point, while Dongfang Yan was getting stronger and stronger. "Domain Lord Murong, just admit defeat," Lin Muyu loudly said from outside the battlefield. "Okay." Murong Tianxing, who was in the middle of a fierce battle, could only say this one word. His whole body was surrounded by the power of death. It was already very fortunate that he was not injured. But Dongfang Yan continued to chase after him. Buzz! The space suddenly trembled. Lin Muyu had arrived. The Xianyuan sword was filled with the power of the 10,000 elephants of heaven and earth. With a hong sound, it pierced through the black mass of qi and rescued Murong Tianxing from the battle. Then, her left fist suddenly landed heavily on Dongfang Yan's armpit. Bang! This demonic sound fist was very powerful. It even caused black blood to flow from the corner of Dongfang Yan's mouth. At this moment, Lin Muyu and Murong Tianxing joined hands. Although it was very short, it was the truth. According to the rules, this was not allowed. However, Lin Muyu was not a person who followed the rules. If she could trick a strong opponent, she would naturally do it. Otherwise, she would be a fool. Chapter 1040. Murong Tianxing coughed violently and stumbled down from the stage. 2 celestial emperors from the Tianxing region immediately came to protect him. Region Lord, are you all right? I'm fine. Murong Tianxing wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth as he turned to look at Dongfang Yan and Lin Muyu. Alliance Chief Lin, be careful. Dongfang Yan's forbidden death technique is extremely evil. It can absorb the energy of others. Thank you, I will be careful. Lin Muyu nodded. Not far away, Xianxia's body rose up and he said, Alliance Lord Lin, are you going to challenge the current arena Lord, Dongfang Yan? Lin Muyu looked indifferent. Do I need to use anything as a bargaining chip? That there's no need. Alliance leader Lin has already given our falling star field a lot of face by participating in the treasure seizing assembly. If Alliance leader Lin wants to challenge Lord Dongfang Yan, please come on stage. It's going to be dark soon. Thank you for reminding me. Lin Muyu looked at Xianxia coldly. Xianxia was not that kind. He didn't want to use the bargaining chip because if he lost, the Tianxing region would be the real winner. The reputation of the Dragon League would suffer a great loss. Experts from different regions would always follow whoever had a higher reputation. This was a competition. If Lin Muyu lost to Dongfang Yan, at least 30 to 40% of the 1300 God Realm experts in the Dragon City would leave. Dongfang Yan was surrounded by a dense black aura. His face, which was neither human nor ghost, was filled with hostility and killing intent. His pale green eyes shot out a frightening cold light. He grinned and said, Lin Muyu, you don't want to save your woman. Do you want to come here to die? Once the corpse aura of the corpse nurturing plane enters the body, it is not easy to get rid of it. Do you want her to die? Lin Muyu was secretly disappointed. Dongfang Yan had started to attack her mind before he started to fight. He used Qin Yin to confuse her mind. Such a person was really terrible. Slowly unsheathing the Xianyuan sword, Lin Muyu pointed the sword at Dongfang Yan and said softly, In this battle, let's decide the winner and the loser, and also decide life and death. What do you think? Haha. Dongfang Yan laughed wildly. You want to kill me so badly? Do you, Lin Muyu, still think that I, Dongfang Yan, am still the same Dongfang Yan that you can kill whenever you want? Lin Muyu's expression was calm. I'm only asking you, what do you think of my suggestion? I agree. Dongfang Yan's eyes were full of pride. Lin Muyu nodded and smiled. She raised her voice and said in a loud voice that shocked everyone present, Did you all hear that? The battle between Dongfang Yan and I will decide life and death. Before either of us dies, no one is allowed to interfere. Xianxia frowned, but didn't say anything. Murong Tianxing, Feng Zhanlin, Tang Xiaoxi and the others looked at the stage nervously. Shi Yan was guarding Qin Yin, while Fu Zhu stood aside anxiously and couldn't do anything to help. The flying sword Morning Dew was surrounded by a blood-red light. Dongfang Yan stared at Lin Muyu with one eye, as if he was staring at his prey. The other 2 flying swords, Rainbow Light and Flame Blade, were flying up and down, looking for an opportunity at any time. Lin Muyu held the Xianyuan sword very cautiously and walked towards Dongfang Yan step by step. Just like a duel between warriors in the mortal world, she walked towards him step by step, and the light of the invisible elephant spell surged around her, constantly colliding with the bone-chilling death airflow. Just like this, when Lin Muyu stepped into the death airflow, she gave a low shout and slashed out with her sword. The ground was full of chaotic figures and living celestial bodies. It was the first strike of the 7 luminaries, chaos of the common people. Dongfang Yin didn't say anything. He swept towards morning dew with a miserable sound like ghosts crying and gods howling. The thick death airflow quickly swallowed the Xian energy of the chaos of the common people and went straight to Lin Muyu's chest. Bastard! Lin Muyu gritted her teeth and shouted. Suddenly, the starlight on her body surged. The first move of the star arts, initial starlight. When the starlight dispelled the death airflow, Dongfang Yen roared and rushed towards morning dew. The other 2 flying swords also attacked from the left and right sides with amazing power. Lin Muyu was surprisingly calm. The Xianyuan sword fiercely slashed out with the Xian energy of the 2 luminaries' demonic dance, and at the same time, she kicked with her left fist and right foot. Dongfang Yan's flying swords were pushed back, and the Xianyuan sword hit morning dew with a bang. Obviously, Lin Muyu, who used all her power, had the advantage in strength, and pushed Dongfang Yen back with 1 strike. However, he didn't feel happy at all. When the swords collided, Lin Muyu felt that a part of his 2 luminaries' demonic dance's Xian energy was sucked away. Just as Qin Yin reminded, the reduction of the 7 luminaries' power was equivalent to providing Dongfang Yen with endless death energy. At this moment, Dongfang Yen was like a ball of rotten cotton. No matter how you attacked, he was still the same. Instead, he was constantly absorbing the opponent's energy, and when the time was right, he would launch a counterattack. But Lin Muyu knew that any absorbing technique had a limit. Her only chance of winning was to break through Dongfang Yan's limit and catch him off guard. The Xianyuan sword's light surged, 3 luminaries' calamity. Dongfang Yen laughed wildly and waved the morning dew sword like a madman to block. With a prung sound, his body suddenly sank, but he managed to withstand it. He didn't lose his defense under Lin Muyu's fierce attack. Lin Muyu's body was in the air. With a light flip of his wrist, the second power contained in the Xianyuan sword burst forth. It was the profound energy of the 4 luminaries' demon and god's cry. The current hymn had already cultivated the 7 luminaries' profound energy to the point of perfection. Huh! Dongfang Yen was also shocked, but he still waved his long sleeves. A thick death aura continuously attacked and resisted the 4 luminaries' demon and god's cry's blood-red profound energy. For a moment, the sky kept bursting with flames. It was extremely shocking. You want to eat my power? Can you? Lin Muyu's handsome face looked extremely angry under the illumination of the flames. Death can devour heaven and earth, so what does your power count for? Dongfang Yen laughed loudly. His expression was abnormally ferocious. The death aura around his body revolved rapidly, constantly devouring Lin Muyu's profound energy. Was it really as he said, the forbidden death technique could devour the power of everything in the world? Buzz, buzz, buzz. The flame rose up again. Lin Muyu's left hand was raised high, as if she was holding a purple sun in her hand. It was so majestic and unparalleled. The spectators on the longevity altar were all moved. No one had seen such a powerful martial art before. The 6th style of the star arts, purple sun shakes the earth. Lin Muyu used almost all of his divine power to blast out the purple sun. The blazing energy instantly poured onto Dongfang Yan's morning dew sword, burning the flying sword red. Dongfang Yan's expression became even more ferocious, and he let out a miserable howl. The clothes on his upper body instantly disappeared under the power of the purple sun, revealing his rotten muscles and bones. It was very frightening. The power of the purple sun was not so easy to swallow. Even the rotten sores on Dongfang Yan's chest and shoulders had already evaporated into steam. He roared loudly, opened his mouth, and tried to swallow more supreme divine power. Snot and blood flowed down from his nose, making him look miserable and ferocious. Will it work or not? Feng Zhanlin clenched his fist, his face ashen. Tang Xiaoxi and Xian's pretty faces were also full of nervousness. Fuzhu murmured, Master will definitely win. He will definitely win against that thing that is neither human nor ghost. He will definitely. Murong Tianxing, Xinjun, Jiang Yuyang, and other area lords were also dumbfounded. I didn't expect this leader of the Dragon League to be so powerful. Jiang Yuyang said in a low voice. You have to win, Alliance Leader Lin. Murong Tianxing's blessing came from the bottom of his heart. On the other side, Zheng Xian, Dongfang Jin, and the others' faces were ashen. They didn't expect Lin Muyu to be so powerful that even Dongfang Yan, who was neither human nor ghost, was having such a hard time dealing with her, and even seemed to be in imminent danger. Once Dongfang Yan was defeated, the meticulous planning of the entire Starfall domain would go down the drain. The entire treasure seizing conference would instead be like a wedding dress for the Dragon League. Dongfang Yan roared continuously. Suddenly, the purple sun in the sky disappeared. He had completely eaten it. The purplish red energy even came out of Dongfang Yan's throat and abdomen, and was forcibly swallowed by him in the blink of an eye. It tastes really good, huh? Dongfang Yan laughed provocatively at Lin Muyu, who was in the sky. Lin Muyu smiled as well. Is that so? Then eat one more. She held the Xianyuan sword tightly with both hands, and light shot up into the sky. For a moment, the surrounding space twisted, and the world turned upside down. The fiery red 7 planets' profound energy crazily surged out of Lin Muyu's body, and Lin Muyu roared, All things in the world, listen to my command. Borrow the power of all the mountains in the entire Starfall domain. The long sword struck 6 planets' tribulation. This sword was not as simple as the 6 planets' tribulation, it also contained the power of the mountains and rivers. Bang! As the sword fell, it directly shattered the morning dew flying sword. For a moment, the power of the heavens and the earth fell down, forming a domain cyclone that instantly crushed Dongfang Yan's death aura. Facing the Xianyuan sword, Dongfang Yan actually stretched out a pair of hands that were almost left with bones to receive the attack. His hands were like iron hooks that clasped the blade of the sword, preventing the Xianyuan sword from cutting down. But the profound energy on the blade also flew down and penetrated into Dongfang Yan's body. Ah! This great perfection divine emperor expert let out a heart-wrenching scream. Under the impact of the 6 planets' tribulation, blood flew out of his nose, and even his poor eyeballs were almost squeezed out of shape. He was indescribably ferocious and scary. Indeed, Dongfang Yan could not be considered as a god or a human at this moment. He was just a thing that was neither human nor ghost. In the sound of bones breaking, Dongfang Yan's ribs were all broken, and his body seemed like it would completely collapse at any time. Boom! A few seconds later, his body suddenly exploded and turned into a pile of rotten flesh, but his arms, shoulders, and head were still intact, and he was still fighting against the Xianyuan sword. He looked at Lin Muyu with one eye and said ferociously, Death is rebirth. I have already understood the way of life and death. Do you think you can kill me like this? Visible to the naked eye, the rotten flesh on the ground began to move slowly, and in the blink of an eye, it began to gather. He was being reborn. Chapter 1041. Oh my God, what is that? On the longevity altar, the masters of the 8 regions all stood up in astonishment. At this moment, no one could sit still. This was the first time they saw someone like Dongfang Yan, who cultivated the forbidden death technique, being able to be reborn like this after his body was shattered. How could they not be astonished? The cultivation laws of the entire 64 regions were almost overturned by this scene in front of them. It really is an evil technique. Murong Tianxing clenched his fists and said, Alliance Master Lin is in danger. This kind of evil technique, I'm afraid only a perfected God Emperor expert can deal with it. Shinjun squinted his eyes. Dongfang Yan is really crazy. In order to pursue power, he actually gave up being a god, and would rather be a ghost, a monster like this. Wang Xiang's face turned pale. Alliance Master Lin, will he be all right? On the seats of the Dragon League, Luo Xintian, Niu Geng, Feng Zhan Lin, Mochi Lin and the others were extremely nervous. They all gritted their teeth and wished they could immediately go and help Lin Muyu. Unfortunately, the battle aura formed by Lin Muyu and Dongfang Yan was not something ordinary people could enter. Even Luo Xintian, Niu Geng and the others who had just entered the God Emperor realm might not even be able to enter the battle. In less than 10 seconds, Dongfang Yan's body condensed again. He did not seem to be in as much pain as before. He licked his lips and smiled. As expected of the sovereign lattice, the divine power derived from it tastes so delicious. Come on, Lin Muyu, let me, Dongfang Yan, see how powerful you are. Come on, kill me, Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Suddenly, a cold light flashed past her side. It was the flying sword, Flame Blade. Kacha, a hole was pierced through the divine wall, and blood could be seen on her arm. Dongfang Yan was an immortal, bloodthirsty person. He licked his lips and tasted the evaporated smell of Lin Muyu's blood. He could not help but look even more ferocious. Good. Good taste, your blood is so delicious. I'm going to eat you, Dongfang Yan will eat you. In the distance, Xianxia couldn't help frowning. He didn't expect Dongfang Yan to be so arrogant. If this was the case, so what if Dongfang Yan defeated Lin Muyu? The Falling Star Domain would be labeled as an evil sect. At that time, the Heaven-Devouring Domain and the Mysterious Heaven Domain would definitely not let the Falling Star Domain off. Dongfang Yan was completely immersed in his world of death, and the surrounding death power became more and more intense. In the air, Lin Muyu kept activating his strength of grains. The blood mist on his arms slowly condensed into blood refinement. In a blink of an eye, it transformed into a huge blood-colored ball, trapping him and Dongfang Yan in it. It was the 8th skill of the star scripture, blood refinement of the firmament. The Yang and Yin Yang. With Yen flame flame, flame heaven, blood Lin Lin, heaven of heaven, and heaven Yang Yen, was, and earth. Yen, and the heaven heaven, the earth. Heaven, and the God, and the heaven. And Dongfang Fang Yen. And Yang. The God and Lin and in one. Can't you be reborn? Lin Muyu sneered. I want to see how many times you can be reborn. Take this. Boom. With an energy wave similar to infrasound, the huge blood ball suddenly shook, and Dongfang Yan's body also quickly began to separate. His body was already full of holes by the blood refining the heavens, so how could he have any power to resist? In the blink of an eye, Dongfang Yan's body disappeared, turning into pieces of meat in the air. She won. Tang Xiaoxi opened her eyes wide. Mu won. Shi Yen frowned. Not necessarily, let's wait and see. You did not completely relax, and Dongfang Yan's aura is still everywhere in the sky. Tang Xiaoxi was stunned. In the distance, Murong Tianxing, Shinjun, Jiang Yuyang, and the others all opened their eyes wide. This was a rare battle, a battle between a god and a demon. Even though Dongfang Yan had been smashed into pieces, the result was still unknown. As if to confirm everyone's thoughts, the pieces of meat in the air slowly gathered like dust, and Dongfang Yan's arrogant laughter could be heard. He had become stronger. Can't he be killed? Lin Muyu frowned. Can't he be killed? Perhaps, only by completely destroying Dongfang Yan's body could he be killed? At this time, Dongfang Yan's upper body had been reunited. He looked at Lin Muyu with a playful face and laughed. I said, death is rebirth. Poor Lin Muyu, in my eyes, you are just like an ignorant and weak mortal, The future of the 64 domains will be changed by me, Dongfang Yan, and you are just a small stumbling block. Lin Muyu did not say anything. His body rose into the air, and he sheathed his long sword. He raised both his palms in the air, and with a buzz, a golden light burst out, and a huge wheel began to spin rapidly under his body. Divine Wheel. Lin Muyu used all of her power to operate the Divine Wheel, and she did not give Dongfang Yan any time to buy time. Lin Muyu would not be so stupid to wait for Dongfang Yan to reunite his body before attacking. The Divine Will was not too big, only as big as a high platform, but all its power was concentrated and compressed by Lin Muyu into this small wheel. This attack must kill Dongfang Yan. You want to use the Divine Wheel? A trace of surprise flashed in Dongfang Yan's eyes. He hurriedly tried to fly away, but the cage of the blood-refining firmament was still around him. Dongfang Yan hit the blood wall with a pung-pung sound, but he was unable to break through. You don't even think about it. This time, Dongfang Yan was really nervous. The power of the divine will came from the purest divine power. After being killed by the divine wheel, nothing would be left, and it was impossible to be reborn in that state of nothingness. According to the divine realm, this kind of death was called annihilation, and it had nothing to do with rebirth. Don't even think about it. Dongfang Yen was anxious, and his ferocious body suddenly trembled. A space crack was opening behind him, and he wanted to break the void and escape. In your dreams, Lin Muyu gritted her teeth, and with a thought, the invisible elephant formula quickly controlled the surrounding space and extinguished Dongfang Yan's escape route like extinguishing a cigarette butt. Don't even think about killing me. Don't even think about it. Dongfang Yan roared, and his arms suddenly shook. Golden quicksand flowed between his fingers. That was the power of the samsara wheel. He wanted to go back in time and escape before Lin Muyu used the blood-refining sky. Lin Muyu could not help but smile slightly. Suddenly, golden quicksand also flew around her arms, and the samsara wheel in a small area was sped up. In the blink of an eye, the power of the divine wheel had been accumulated to the fullest, and the advantage of the Supreme Personality was instantly demonstrated. After Lin Muyu used the samsara wheel, Dongfang Yen did not have time to use the samsara wheel. With a shout from Lin Muyu, the divine will smash down with an overwhelming force. Dongfang Yen raised his head and saw Lin Muyu's angry eyes. Boom! The whole mountain range of the meteorite domain was shaking, and the foundation of the longevity altar was constantly collapsing, and there were signs of collapse at the edge. In the dazzling golden light, Dongfang Yan's body began to disappear and was completely disintegrated by the divine wheel. In the blink of an eye, the divine wheel smashed into the ground, and the hard divine spar was smashed into pieces. Back then, the ancestors of the meteorite domain chose the hard divine spar as the arena, but they did not expect that these divine spar would eventually be destroyed by an emperor god with the divine wheel. They never thought that this would happen. Dongfang Yen died, and the 3 flying swords were also evaporated by the divine wheel. This time, Dongfang Yan's aura completely disappeared. The moment the smoke and clouds dissipated, the afterglow of the setting sun fell on Lin Muyu. The Chi-Yu armor under his battle robe reflected a majestic luster, making him look like a god of war. She won, Mu won. Tang Xiaoxi almost cried tears of joy. It was not easy to win this battle, and Lin Muyu almost used all his skills and cultivation. Shi Yen nodded slightly. Yes, you won, he won. The people of the Dragon League all cheered. Not long after, the people of the Tianxing domain, the Earth Carrier domain, and the other domains all stood up and cheered for Lin Muyu. At this moment, almost everyone regarded Lin Muyu as the hero who saved the 8 southern regions. If it were not for Lin Muyu, no one would have the ability to defeat Dongfang Yen, who was neither human nor ghost. Under the cheers and shouts of the crowd, Lin Muyu sat in the mess for a full 3 minutes before she stood up again. She floated towards the Dragon League, knelt down on one knee next to Qin Yin, and asked, "Is Xiao Yin awake?" Tang Xiaoxi shook her head. Shi Yen said, "Xiao Yin's body was invaded by the death qi, and her senses and heart are temporarily sealed. Let's take her back to the Dragon League to recuperate first. Don't worry, there will be a way to cure her." Tang Xiaoxi frowned. Mu is also injured. Why did Mu's body be invaded by the death qi? Lin Muyu said, "I also think it's strange. Murong Tianxing is not injured, so it's understandable that the death qi did not invade his body. But I am injured, but I feel a force protecting me. I don't have Dongfang Yan's death qi. Why is that?" Shi Yen sighed. "Because the Xianyuan sword on your back is a saint's sword. It's filled with righteousness. It's the sword that protected you. And Xiao Yin's weapon is the Nuwa Zither. Although the Nuwa Zither also has righteousness, it can't compare to the Xianyuan sword. This is probably the reason. It's all my fault." Lin Muyu carried Qin Yin, looked at her unconscious appearance, and blamed herself. "I should have given the Xianyuan sword to Xiao Yin. What's the use of blaming yourself? Let's return to Dragon City." When Lin Muyu flew up, Murong Tianxing suddenly said, "Alliance leader Lin, please wait a moment. Since you are the champion of this treasure-seizing assembly, you can take away all the treasures." Lin Muyu looked at the people on the ground and said, "The star cluster chess originally belonged to our Dragon League. Fengzhan Lin, go and take it. As for the rest of the treasures, return them to their owners." Everyone was shocked. No one thought that Lin Muyu would deal with the spoils of war like this. At this time, Lin Muyu looked at Xianxia deeply and said, "Domain Lord Zheng, you are the ruler of Fallen Star Domain. You should know that you should draw a clear line between yourself and people like Dongfang Yan who walk the path of evil. If you do it again, our Dragon League will flatten Fallen Star Domain. Don't blame me for not warning you." Zheng Xian disappointedly nodded. He didn't say anything. His heart was dead. Dongfang Yan was dead, and Fallen Star Domain's chance to rise seemed to have disappeared. Chapter 1042. At night, as the people of the 7 regions left one by one, the originally prosperous meteorite territory became barren. The longevity altar, which had been mostly destroyed, was in a mess. Many people of the meteorite territory were cleaning up the wreckage left behind by the battle. The moonlight slowly rose and fell on the mountain range, shining into the distance like a silver dragon winding above the earth. Several people stood on the balcony, overlooking the scene of the longevity altar being repaired. The light of the torches reflected something in their eyes that no one could understand. "Territory Master, Uncle has died in battle. He died for the meteorite territory. There must be an explanation, right?" Dongfang Jin frowned and said calmly. Zheng Xian had 2 sabers hanging from his waist. His expression was also not very good. He said calmly, "Nephew, don't be anxious. Dongfang Territory Master and I have been through life and death together. His death pains me more than anyone else. Nephew, please rest assured that the meteorite territory will definitely take revenge. Lin Muyu will die under my 2 sabers sooner or later. That would be for the best." Dongfang Jin raised his eyebrows and said, "Then, what does the Territory Master plan to do now? Although we have lost Uncle, the Dragon League has also lost Qin Yin. Qin Yin is Lin Muyu's woman. With Lin Muyu's personality, she will definitely not let this go." Zheng Xian pondered for a moment and a strange smile appeared on his face. He said, "Nephew, as the saying goes, whoever started the trouble must end it. The method to detoxify the corpse poison can only be found in the corpse cultivation plane. If there is no accident, within 3 days, Lin Muyu will come to the corpse cultivation plane. If that is the case, we can use your master to get rid of Lin Muyu and let the masters of the corpse cultivation plane come out and destroy the Dragon League. Wouldn't this be killing 2 birds with 1 stone? We can avenge Dongfang Yan and also get rid of Lin Muyu. If Lin Muyu dies and the Dragon League is destroyed, then Dragon City will naturally belong to Nephew." Dongfang Jin narrowed his eyes. "Territory Master is willing to support me to return to the Raging Fire territory and take charge of the entire territory? Who else is more suitable than you?" Zheng Xian held onto the railing of the pavilion and gazed into the distance. He said, "But there is one more thing that no one is more suitable than you, and that is to go to the land of corpses to report to your teacher. Tell him the news of Dongfang Yan's brother's death and let him prepare early. Once Lin Muyu goes to the land of corpses, leave him there forever." So that's how it is." Dongfang Jin laughed dryly. What kind of place was the corpse nurturing plane? It was a forbidden area that all the major regions were forbidden to enter, and even the Divine Lord was not willing to step into it. The master of the corpse nurturing plane had only accepted 1 disciple from the outer realm, and that was Dongfang Yan. Dongfang Jin had followed Dongfang Yan to meet his master once, and he was indeed the most suitable. If it was Zheng Xian, he might not be able to return alive. However, Dongfang Jin couldn't help but shudder at the thought of the eerie and terrifying corpse nurturing planes, and he was struck by a sense of horror. "Nephew, are you willing to go?" Zheng Xian asked. Dongfang Jin lowered his head and pondered for a long time. He then raised his head and said, "In order to avenge my uncle, I should go to the corpse nurturing plane. However, I also hope that you will fulfill your promise. Once Lin Muyu dies in the corpse nurturing plane, you will immediately send troops to suppress the Dragon League and take back the Raging Fire region for me." "Of course." "All right, Then I will go to the corpse-nurturing plane immediately. Half a day later, the southernmost border, the most difficult region of the entire 64 regions, was a desolate and uninhabited wilderness. The wilderness was getting more and more desolate, and there were dead branches and leaves everywhere. A strong rotten smell lingered in the air. The corpse-nurturing plain was a miserable gray mountain area. Rotten bones could be seen almost everywhere, and there were even some rotting corpses. Flies were flying around, and it was difficult to look at them directly. In the wilderness, a man in a black robe was walking slowly. It was Dongfang Jin. Jie, the soil on both sides moved, and there was a chilling sound. As Dongfang Jin walked, he said respectfully, "I am Dongfang Jin, the nephew of your teacher's disciple, Dongfang Yan. I have come here to tell your teacher a very important message." The violent soil on both sides immediately calmed down, as if nothing had happened. Dongfang Jin broke out in a cold sweat and continued to walk forward until he reached the end of the death chi. Suddenly, the death chi in front of him became extremely thick, and the rotten bones of at least 1,000 corpses flew up into the air. It was a terrifying scene. In the blink of an eye, these bones quickly gathered and formed the shape of a giant head. This head actually spoke, and it sounded like it came from the depths of hell. "I know you. You are Dongfang Yan's nephew." Dongfang Jin hurriedly knelt on both knees and cried, "Teacher, please take revenge for uncle. He died so miserably, his body and soul were destroyed." "Dongfang Yan is dead?" The head seemed very surprised. "He is someone who has learned my immortal deity technique. Is there anyone in the 64 regions who can kill Dongfang Yan?" Dongfang Jin nodded heavily and said, "Teacher, the person who killed uncle is called Lin Muyu. She is the leader of the Southern Dragon League. Uncle died under Lin Muyu's spirit wheel." "Spirit wheel? I have never heard of this Lin Muyu before. Is he a perfected god emperor?" "No, he is just a god emperor who has yet to step into the 80th grotto heaven realm, but this person has the paragon physique and can use the power of heaven and earth. It was his spirit wheel that destroyed uncle's body and soul. Also, this person's weapon is the legendary Xianxia sword, the most powerful divine weapon in the 3 realms. Uncle's death energy was restrained by the Xianxia sword, which is why he was defeated." As he spoke, Dongfang Jin kowtowed and cried, "Teacher, please take revenge for uncle." The skeleton in the air spun rapidly, and there was a cold glint in its eye sockets. "This Lin Muyu is not simple. Dongfang Jin, you asked me to take revenge for your uncle, why don't you take revenge for yourself?" Dongfang Jin's forehead was instantly covered in sweat. "I know that I am not a match for Lin Muyu at all. That is why I asked you, teacher." "Ha!" The skull laughed wildly and said, "What if I give you a chance now? I will let you become an immortal, and you can personally take revenge for your uncle. How about that?" "Teacher, you mean?" Dongfang Jin's face was pale. "Why, are you not willing to become my disciple and inherit your uncle Dongfang Yan's legacy?" "I am willing, but time is short. That Lin Muyu's woman, Qin Yin, has been poisoned, and Lin Muyu will definitely find the corpse-nurturing plains in 3 to 5 days. I am worried that such a short period of time is not enough for me to cultivate the immortal deity technique." "Haha." The skull laughed wildly again. "Don't worry, you have the body of a god emperor, and the billions of rotten bones in the corpse-nurturing plains can all be absorbed by you. As long as you are determined to take revenge, the corpse-nurturing plains can turn you into an immortal in 3 days. When Lin Muyu finds you, you can take revenge yourself. If you still can't do it, this senior will help you. How about that?" Dongfang Jin muttered to himself. The skull showed a trace of displeasure. "Are you still greedy for the various things in the mortal world? Power and money, or women? To cultivate the immortal deity technique, you are destined to give up all of that. Do you want to live a lowly life, or do you want to obtain supreme power, to make your enemies bow at your feet?" "Supreme power." Dongfang Jin's body trembled, and he looked up, his eyes filled with passion. "Teacher, Dongfang Jin is willing to follow teacher in cultivating the immortal deity technique." "Good, come here." Dongfang Jin walked over slowly, and suddenly, the surroundings were filled with black clouds, filled with the wailing of ghosts and wailing of gods. The skulls suddenly dispersed, turning into countless rotten bones that surrounded Dongfang Jin. Instantly, the rotten bones danced in the air, shattering Dongfang Jin's godly walls. Inch by inch, his skin was torn open, and blood splattered everywhere. In the blink of an eye, he was neither human nor ghost, and the black death energy quickly seeped into his body. In the darkness, a powerful death energy sighed, and it quickly absorbed Dongfang Jin's fresh flesh and blood, as if it was extremely satisfied. The taste of a living person was always more enjoyable than the taste of a dead person. Dragon City. In an exquisite room in the side palace, Qin Yin lay on the bed in a daze, her face pale. It was already the second day, and Qin Yin still had not woken up. If not for Shi Yan using the power of the blazing angel to protect her heart, perhaps Qin Yin's body would have been completely corroded. Holding her cold hand, Lin Muyu's heart was filled with self-blame and heartache. If he had fought Dongfang Yan at the first moment, perhaps Qin Yin would not have ended up like this. Don't worry, Xiao Yin will get better. Tang Xiaoxi put her hand on his shoulder and comforted him, but she did not have much confidence. At this rate, Qin Yin might not wake up. What is going on with this death evil art? Lin Muyu sat down on the bed dejectedly. Why is it that our god powers are unable to cure the poison, and even the godly medicine that I have refined is unable to dispel the death energy in Xiao Yin's body? Why? Feng Zhan Lin, Mochi Lin, and the others were silent. Domain Lord level experts like them were helpless against this kind of evil art. Shi Yan furrowed her brows and said, "In the Western divine realm, death and rebirth are only a kind of transformation that exists. However, I have never seen such a tyrannical evil art of death before. Perhaps this is because of the forbidden art that was left behind in the Eastern Heaven realm since the ancient times. Xiao Yin can only hold on for less than half a month." Lin Muyu smiled bitterly, his eyes slightly red. He and Shi Yan had the highest cultivation, so they could see through Qin Yin's situation the best. If there was no way to cure the poison within half a month, Qin Yin's heart would no longer be able to resist the invasion of the corpse poison from the outside world. Shi Yan glanced at him, but couldn't help but worry in her heart. As expected, Lin Muyu still spoke. He stood up and asked, "Feng Zhan Lin, Mochi Lin, Feng Zhan Hai, do any of you know where the corpse nurturing plains is?" Lin General. Feng Zhan Lin couldn't help but feel a chill in his heart. Mochi Lin said, "Lin General, the corpse nurturing plains is just a legend. No one knows where it is, and a place like the corpse nurturing plains, once you go, I'm afraid, don't say any more." Lin Muyu clenched his fists and said, "For Xiao Yin, even if it's a mountain of daggers or a sea of flames, I will still go. Otherwise, can I still be considered a man? Since you don't know, then stay in Dragon City and look after the house. I'll go alone." Chapter 1043. Don't be so reckless. Shi Yan stood up and said with a reproachful expression, This is not your problem alone. Xiao Yin is your Xiao Yin, and she is also ours. Don't say that you don't know where the zombie breeding field is. Even if you know, there must be more monsters in a place that can turn Dongfang Yan into such a monster. You will die if you go alone." "No, I want to go alone. I've made up my mind. Sister Xian, you don't have to persuade me." Lin Muyu's expression was indifferent. When she said these words, she was very calm. She did not seem to be boasting at all. But Shi Yan was very puzzled. Lin Muyu said softly, "Xiao Yin's injury made me understand one thing. I have to bear the responsibility alone. Someone must go to the zombie breeding field, so it is better for me to go alone. I don't want Sister Xian or Xiao Shi to be injured again. If I go alone, there will be no worries or restraints. This is my path. If I don't go, it will be running away. A coward does not deserve to be a supreme being." As he said this, he slowly pulled out the Xian Yuan sword and placed the blade in front of his chest. The golden light on the blade moved. Lin Muyu quietly looked at this divine weapon and said, "The most important thing for a man is to be responsible. Please believe me." If I can go to the zombie breeding field alive, I can come back alive with the method to cure the poison. This is my path and I must walk it alone. Xian suddenly hesitated. Tang Xiaoxi's eyes were full of admiration and love. This was the Lin Muyu that she liked. Without this kind of momentum and confidence, she would not be him. So she said, "Then let Fuzhu go with you. Sister Xian and I will stay in Dragon City and wait for you to come back." Lin Muyu nodded heavily. "It's a deal. Wait for me to come back." Xian stood there in a daze. Crazy, they must all be crazy. Leaping out of the side hall, Lin Muyu went straight into another room. She didn't have much time to waste. After standing still, she immediately concentrated on meditating. A wisp of divine sense quickly pierced through the sky, heading towards the Eastern Heaven realm to search for the aura of the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. In the vast starry sky, the spiritual mountains of the Eastern Heaven realm were scattered chaotically. It was not easy to find the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. This took Lin Muyu at least the time it took to burn a stick of incense to finish. When her spiritual sense went straight to the Eastern Heaven, it had already turned into an oracle. Under the golden light, Lin Muyu's body appeared in the Hall of East Heaven. The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor, who was giving out orders, was stunned. "Oh, isn't this you? How did you find the time to look for me with the power of the oracle?" At the side, dozens of God Emperor realm experts got down on one knee. "Greetings, Commander Zhua." Lin Muyu raised her hand. "Dispense with the formalities, please rise." "Big brother, I have an urgent matter this time." "Don't rush, speak slowly." Ziyao stood beside the 7 luminaries Demon Emperor. Lin Muyu said, "Xiao Yin is injured and has been poisoned by a kind of death evil art. She is unconscious. My and Shi Yan's divine powers are unable to dispel this corpse poison. The creator of this corpse poison is in the corpse nurturing planes in the 64 domains. However, I can't find the location of the corpse nurturing planes, so I came to ask Ziyao to use the northern heavenly wheel to find the location of the corpse nurturing planes for me." "Corpse nurturing planes?" Ziyao frowned slightly. You got into big trouble in this secret realm. How did you offend the people in the corpse nurturing planes?" "You also know about the corpse nurturing planes?" "Yes, there is an old monster living in the corpse nurturing planes. He is proficient in the art of life and death. He has also cultivated countless undead monsters. It is very troublesome. What is the situation with Xiao Yin's corpse poison?" "I don't know either. That is why I need to go to the corpse nurturing planes and find the culprit before looking for a way to cure it." "Do you need me to go to the ancient secret realm?" Ziyao asked. Lin Muyu frowned. "If Sister Ziyao wants to help me, then help me find the location of the corpse nurturing planes first. Then you can come. Otherwise, I'm afraid you won't be able to make it in time." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor said, "The corpse nurturing planes is not to be underestimated. You, don't go to your death. I know it is dangerous, but I have to go." Lin Muyu spread her hands and smiled bitterly. "Life and death are up to the heavens. It all depends on whether I have the luck." The 7 luminaries Demon Emperor narrowed his eyes. "Looks like you have grown quite a bit in the ancient secret realm. Very good. Ziyao, use the North Sky Wheel. Help you find the corpse nurturing planes first. After you find the corpse nurturing planes, you can bring all the top-grade spiritual herbs in East Heaven to the ancient secret realm to see if they can be of help." Ziyao nodded and clasped her hands together. When her hands separated, a dazzling light burst forth and condensed into a huge wheel. It was the North Sky Wheel. The corpse nurturing planes was a place of extreme yin among the 64 domains. The needle on the heaven wheel spun rapidly and finally stopped at a certain position. Ziyao muttered to herself for a moment and said, "You, immediately return your spiritual sense to your position. I will immediately guide you." But Lin Muyu quickly withdrew her spiritual sense. In the next moment, a ray of light suddenly blossomed in her mind and extended straight into the distance. It was the south of the 64 domains, even further south than Dragon City. It was about 1,000 miles away from Dragon City. At the same time, this position left a mark in Lin Muyu's mind that she could not erase. Creak! When she opened the door, Fuzhu, Feng Zhanlin, Feng Zhanhai, and the others were standing outside. Master, do you need little beasts to go with you? Fuzhu asked. Yes. Lin Muyu's answer surprised Fuzhu. When we reach the corpse nurturing plains, keep watch outside for me. I can go in by myself. You can act according to the situation and be ready to support me. Yes, Master. Feng Zhanlin frowned. Lin General, all right. Lin Muyu revealed a bright smile and patted Feng Zhanlin's shoulder. It's not like we will be separated forever. I will come back after I go. You guys guard Dragon City and wait for my return. Everyone cupped their fists together. Lin Muyu looked at Fuzhu. Let's go. We will head to the corpse nurturing plains as fast as we can. Master, your power has been reduced by almost 20% after using the Divine Oracle. I suggest you rest for half a day before you depart. It's fine. My power will be restored by the time we reach the corpse nurturing plains. Let's go as fast as we can. In the next moment, Lin Muyu took off from the ground and shot into the sky. A sonic boom suddenly appeared in the air, and her speed instantly exceeded the speed of sound. Fuzhu followed closely behind. The two figures disappeared into the sky of Dragon City in the blink of an eye. Feng Zhanlin and Mochi Lin looked at each other and smiled bitterly. Perhaps they could not understand Lin Muyu's realm. How much courage was required to head to a place like the corpse nurturing plains alone? The clouds obscured their vision, but Lin Muyu and Fuzhu relied on their spiritual sense to fly. They constantly changed their flight path to avoid the interweaving windsaws in the sky. Even god emperors had to minimize the friction with the windsaws. Otherwise, it would be unwise to exhaust too much energy. In less than half a day, they arrived at the southern border. Dense flames were swirling in the sky. It gave people the feeling that they had arrived at a flaming mountain. The flames did not look like the flames of the mortal world. They were more like flames that were soaked with the power of death. Lin Muyu suddenly stopped in the sky. It squinted its eyes to see through the flaming clouds and said, "Looks like we've arrived." Fuzhu said, "Those flames contain an extremely strong power of death. There are also very chaotic dimensional flows inside. It's not wise to break through from the sky. Master, I suggest you enter the corpse nurturing plains from the ground." Ground? I'm afraid it won't be easy. Lin Muyu smiled faintly and drew out the Xianyuan sword. She said, "Fuzhu, wait for me outside. Conceal yourself well and wait for me to come out." Yes, Master. After they landed on the ground, they arrived at a dead gray ground. It was desolate and dilapidated. Moreover, there was a faint smell of decay drifting in their nostrils. It was as if something had been rotting for many years but still hadn't completely decayed. It was extremely repulsive. Fuzhu stayed on the periphery while Lin Muyu advanced alone. Lin Muyu felt a little uneasy when her combat boots stepped on the rotten ground. This place did not belong to her, it belonged to death. A kind of domain power that was incompatible with the holy power of the sovereign persona naturally made Lin Muyu feel very uncomfortable. Whoosh! The golden airwave blew away the surrounding black mist. They could still faintly hear a sharp scream. It was a scream of disgust, fear, and ruthlessness. Obviously, the thing in the corpse nurturing plains was also very disgusted with the vast divine power that Lin Muyu carried. The corpse nurturing plains was not a complete plain. Instead, it was a complex terrain where the plains and mountains intersected. The surrounding shrubs had long been withered for many years, but they had not turned into ashes. It was as if it never rained or winded here. After crossing a small hill and looking forward, they immediately felt a chill run down their spines. This was a place filled with corpses and bones. The ground was piled up with corpses of unknown origins. Flies were flying around, and the stench was unbearable. Phew! Lin Muyu took a deep breath. She had no choice but to use her divine power to resist the invasion of the aura of death on her body. At the same time, she drew out the Xianyuan sword. Immediately, the vast divine power turned into a ray of golden light and dispersed towards the power of death. She slowly flew forward, sticking close to the ground. She spread out the spirit pulse technique and constantly detected the aura of the surroundings. Suddenly, a faint chaotic aura came from the spirit pulse technique. Something was coming. It seemed to be something hidden underground. Moreover, it came with ill intentions. The aura was violent and full of hatred. Rustle? Not far away, the soil was constantly churning. A visible underground track was moving straight towards Lin Muyu. Wasn't this attack a little too obvious? Damn it, Lin Muyu gritted her teeth. Divine power was generated under her feet. She stomped on the ground and shouted, "Get out!" Under the pressure of the divine power, an unruly roar came from underground, followed by a mass of flesh and blood pouncing out. It was a strange person covered with rotten flesh and blood. Perhaps it was not a human, because Lin Muyu could not feel a trace of life from it. It was a dead thing that could move just like Dongfang Yen, just that its strength was not as strong as Dongfang Yen. Get out of here! The Xianyuan sword swept out diagonally. The divine power turned into sword aura. Puff! The body of the monster exploded from the middle. Its internal organs and maggots were scattered on the ground. It was extremely disgusting. However, the broken body was actually wriggling slowly, as if it wanted to be restitched. Sure enough, although it was of a lower level, it was still an immortal body, just like Dongfang Yen. Of course, Lin Muyu could not use her spirit wheel to kill such a small fry. She raised her palm and flames flowed. She shouted in a low voice, "Turn into ashes, poor guy." Boom! Under the burning flames, the monster slowly turned into a pile of ashes. Under Lin Muyu's hand, a strong wind blew and the ashes scattered with the wind. It did not reassemble. It seemed that its strength was not as strong as Dongfang Yan's, so its rebirth ability was naturally different. This was good news. Chapter 1044. Stinky smoke rose rapidly from the corpse, and the burning corpse produced some blood-red spiritual light that rushed towards Lin Muyu. It was the residue of the power of death. Taking a few steps back, Lin Muyu waved his left fist, and a strong wind blew away the residue in the blink of an eye. Sha sha sha, the ground trembled slightly, and in the distance, there was a continuous bulge of moving soil. More of these monsters were coming. Lin Muyu frowned and looked at the death aura gathering from all directions without batting an eyelid. The Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly, as if reflecting the murderous intent in its master's heart. Haha, interesting, interesting. A voice that seemed to come from the depths of hell came, and the soil under a dead tree in the distance suddenly turned up. A man with long hair, who was neither human nor ghost, appeared in sight, holding an ugly hammer in his hand. The hammer was swung by an iron chain, and he dragged the chain as he slowly walked over. The skin on his face was turned up, and one could faintly see streams of blood-red light flying past. This was a man who had mastered the power of death. I didn't expect that there would be a God-Emperor realm expert who dared to trespass into the corpse nurturing plane, and even had the ability to kill the corpse slaves of my corpse nurturing plane. Interesting, he stared at Lin Muyu with his dark eyes and said, "Boy, you are Lin Muyu? You knew I would come?" Lin Muyu smiled faintly. "Who are you?" The man who was neither human nor ghost couldn't help but laugh wildly. "Me? I have long forgotten my own name, but my teacher gave me a name several hundred years ago. I am called Ghost Hammer, and he ordered me to guard the edge of the corpse nurturing plane. Since you are here today, I will play with you. Let me see how powerful you are, someone who can kill Dongfang Yen." Lin Muyu raised the Xianyuan sword and smiled. "Think about it carefully, even Dongfang Yen is not my opponent. Who do you think you are?" "You'll know who I am." Ghost Hammer suddenly waved the chain hammer in his hand and roared, "Corpse slaves, attack. Let this brat taste the power of our corpse-raising planes. Make him open his dog eyes wide and not look down on Grandpa Ghost Hammer." Roar, roar, roar. Around them, clumps of dirt flew up, followed by a number of withered corpse slaves. These corpse slaves had dull eyes, but their movements were fast. Each and every one of them rushed over as if they had gone mad. There were countless of them, covering the entire mountain and wilderness. There were at least 1,000 of them. Lin Muyu couldn't help but complain. She raised her head and looked at the sky. Streams of death meteors were flying around unceasingly. Moreover, there seemed to be something hidden in the blood-colored clouds. She couldn't fly in the sky, otherwise, the trouble would be even greater. If she didn't kill these corpse slaves today, she wouldn't be able to get away with it. This ghost hammer was so arrogant because of the huge number of corpse slaves. Ordinary God Realm experts wouldn't be able to kill these corpse slaves. Even God Emperor Realm experts would die of exhaustion after killing all the corpse slaves. What Lin Muyu could rely on was the recovery speed of the Supreme Godhead. It wasn't impossible for her to recover her divine energy while killing the corpse slaves. Buzz! The Xianyuan sword trembled and let out a clear sword cry. The blade was wrapped in thick flames. Since the divine fire could prevent the corpse slaves from being reborn, she would use the divine fire to deal with them. Swoosh! Sticking close to the ground, Lin Muyu charged towards the dozens of corpse slaves. She swung her long sword before they even arrived. With a low grunt, the divine fire on her blade transformed into shadows of people, trees, flowers, birds, insects, and fishes. They also carried a dense life force, and she directly slashed out with a chaotic light of all life. Boom! The raging flames swept across, turning dozens of corpse slaves into flaming dumplings. They howled miserably and rolled on the ground. However, the divine fire Lin Muyu summoned was so powerful that it burned their skin and bones. In the blink of an eye, they were all vaporized into smoke. Roar! Behind her it came again. Without looking back, Lin Muyu turned around and whipped her leg. Her ankle was covered with divine fire. With a bang, she seemed to have kicked something hard. It was a corpse beast covered with scales. Like a hungry wolf, it was kicked several meters away by Lin Muyu's whip kick. However, only the scales on its arm were broken. It didn't die. Roar! It opened its bloody mouth and suddenly bit off the head of a corpse slave. It chewed in big mouthfuls as if it was enjoying it very much. The wound on its arm was also healing at a visible rate. Then, it roared and rushed towards Lin Muyu again. Sure enough, it's a beast. Lin Muyu snorted coldly. Suddenly, her figure burst out. With the mysterious falling star steps, she flashed past the corpse beast. Before the corpse beast could react, the Xianyuan sword struck in the air and instantly split the corpse beast's body into two. The raging divine fire burst out from the corpse beast's body. With a sound, the fire erupted into a shock wave and even swept away more than a dozen corpse slaves around. Although the corpse beast was powerful, its speed was far less than Lin Muyu's. This was its fatal flaw. Otherwise, the corpse beast and corpse slaves would probably be able to dominate the 64 domains. The Xianyuan sword in Lin Muyu's hand was extremely domineering. It killed the corpse slaves and corpse beasts one by one like cutting melons and vegetables. However, he didn't move too far. He just waited for the corpse slaves and corpse beasts to pounce on him before killing them. This was also Lin Muyu's plan. This way, he could prolong the battle and quickly recover the divine power he consumed. Above the bier, there was a faint glimmer of the Supreme Godhead. The power of law in the corpse breeding plane was not very strong, but it was mostly the power of death. Fortunately, Lin Muyu was proficient in the 12 laws. The power of death originated from the chaotic laws. Therefore, the Supreme Godhead quickly absorbed the power of death and transformed it into the divine power of wind, thunder, fire, light, and other elements on Lin Muyu's blade. Go! Kill him! Ghost Hammer, who was not far away, roared angrily, urging the corpse slaves and corpse beasts to fight. At the same time, his voice trembled slightly. He could feel that Lin Muyu's power was so strong that these corpse slaves and corpse beasts could not do anything to him. However, he still roared ferociously, "I don't believe that this brat is invincible. Kill him. Tear his flesh and drink his divine blood. Now is the time." Roar, roar, roar. The corpse slaves rushed towards Lin Muyu as if they had gone crazy. They came from all directions and were extremely fast. Too many, far too many. Lin Muyu gritted his teeth and suddenly jumped up. He was about 10 meters above the ground. As he avoided the flowing fire of death in the air, a ray of light bloomed in his palm. It was the power of the purple sun. In the next moment, Lin Muyu and the purple sun blasted into the ground. Suddenly, layers of the ground several meters deep evaporated. The purple flames spread in all directions. Hundreds of corpse slaves and corpse beasts were almost instantly destroyed. An extremely unpleasant sound came from the side. It was a corpse beast that had half of its head blown off. It was struggling and pouncing towards Lin Muyu. The Xianyuan sword quickly slashed over. However, at this moment, Lin Muyu's heart suddenly trembled. Her ability to predict seemed to have seen something. The Xianyuan sword in her hand seemed to have hit something hard with a dang sound. At the same time, a cold wind came from behind. It was very sharp. Lin Muyu jumped up in the air without thinking. With a schwa sound, a sharp blade flashing with cold light slashed under her. If she had not dodged quickly, she would have been seriously injured. However, the Xianyuan sword was still clamped by something. Lin Muyu looked up and saw that it was a giant corpse beast that was at least 10 meters tall that had grabbed the Xianyuan sword with its sharp claws that were like iron pincers. So ugly, Lin Muyu could not help but be secretly shocked. This giant corpse beast had 3 hands on its upper body. One was the iron pincer that was holding the Xianyuan sword, and the other 2 were the arms with iron blades. Its head was extremely ugly. It only had eyes but no mouth. That's right, where was its mouth? When he looked down, he realized that the mouth was on its feet. As the giant corpse beast moved, blood-colored tentacles grew out of its toes and swept the corpse slaves and corpse beasts that had just died into its mouth. It did not waste any time at all. It fought and cleaned up the battlefield at the same time. It seemed that eating the corpse slaves could also restore and strengthen its battle strength. Roar! The giant corpse beast roared loudly. There seemed to be a bit of pride in its eyes, as if it was already determined to get Lin Muyu. The sword pattern on the Xianyuan sword was clamped and could not be pulled out for the time being. Lin Muyu simply smiled. "Do you want this sword? Then I'll give it to you. You're welcome." After saying that, she immediately let go of the sword and turned around to fly around the corpse beast. Her left fist was surrounded by a thick ball of flame, and she fiercely punched the corpse beast's butt. The blood-colored light spun rapidly. 2 luminaries' demonic dance. Bang! The giant corpse beast screamed in pain. Its butt was almost hit by Lin Muyu, and there was almost a meter-deep wound. "It's time to return my weapon." Lin Muyu suddenly raised her hand and silently recited the sword manipulation technique. Suddenly, the Xianyuan sword began to spin with a buzzing sound. The invincible sharp blade directly cut the giant corpse beast's iron pincer under the high-speed rotation. Under Lin Muyu's control, the sword flew straight down. Puff! The Xianyuan sword that was covered in flames directly penetrated the corpse beast's heart, and a puff of rancid blood spurted out. Lin Muyu was not careless either. She punched and kicked, pouring streams of sharp power into the giant corpse beast's body. At the same time, she used the Xianyuan sword to control the sword with fire and pierced the giant corpse beast dozens of times in a row. The giant corpse beast was full of holes and on the verge of collapse. "Let's end this." Suddenly grasping the Xianyuan sword that was spinning back, Lin Muyu pushed the divine power in her body to the peak. She slashed several times in the air, and nearly 100-meter-long sword chi splashed out, cutting the giant corpse beast into dozens of pieces. At the same time, the blazing divine fire spread everywhere, quickly burning the corpse beast's body to prevent it from regenerating. Just like that, Ghost Hammer's biggest trump card was disintegrated. What? Ghost Hammer stood there in a daze, not knowing what to do. A few seconds later, he fell to the ground and quickly burrowed into the soil. He was like a groundhog that was running for its life. The image of one of the guardians of the corpse nurturing planes had completely disappeared. Chapter 1045. You still want to leave? Come out now. Lin Muyu flew through the air and suddenly fell to the ground. The Xianyuan sword pierced straight into the soil, and the sword chi penetrated deep into the ground. A strong power of the law of earth formed a tough stone awl, and forcibly pulled Ghost Mace's body out of the ground, as if he had dug up an earthworm. "Master, please spare my life." Ghost Mace relied on the corpse slave army, and he did not have much ability himself, so he crawled and begged for mercy. How could Lin Muyu let him go back to report? It was already a big deal for him to enter the corpse breeding ground alone, and if he was not careful, he was afraid that he would die. So the principle was to kill as many as he could and leave no one alive. Anyway, the owner of the corpse breeding ground was not a living person. "Where is your imposing manner just now?" Lin Muyu slashed down with her sword. "You want to leave after showing off your power? Is there such a good thing in the world? Die first and then talk." Ghost Mace was extremely angry, and he raised his chain to block. Dang! Sparks flew, and the chain of the chain could not block the Xianyuan sword, and was directly cut off. Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation and slashed down with her sword, and with a crack, one of Ghost Mace's arms was directly cut off. My hand. Ghost Mace hurried to pick up his hand because as long as he picked up his arm, he could still be reborn, but he did not expect that Lin Muyu would fall from the sky with a divine fire, and the arm was burned to ashes. "I'm so angry!" Ghost Mace roared, and his heart was full of anger. With a ferocious expression, he rushed to the sky, and the iron chain in his hand was like a whip, lashing at the neck of Lin Muyu. He decided to fight with his life. "That's right, or I will be embarrassed to kill you." Lin Muyu blocked the iron chain while talking and laughing, and then another sword from a tricky angle. This time, Ghost Mace's other arm was also lost. With falling star steps, the agility of Ghost Mace's body was beyond Lin Muyu's imagination. Lin Muyu chopped down at Ghost Mace's lower body and directly chopped off both of Ghost Mace's legs. Lin Muyu opened her left palm and burned it directly. As a result, Ghost Mace was suspended in the air like a melon, waving and trembling with rotten flesh on its broken arm. "I'll kill you! I'm going to kill you!" Ghost Hammer roared. Lin Muyu looked at him pitifully. Suddenly, her arm shook slightly, and a light wall appeared in front of Ghost Mace. It was like a mirror, reflecting Ghost Mace's sorry figure. But Ghost Hammer was stunned. Lin Muyu said lightly, "Do you still look like a human? Can you feel pain? You were so impressive in corpse-nurturing planes, but are you really alive?" Ghost Hammer's expression was a bit twisted, but it was also very ferocious. He roared, "So what? What can I do? I have no choice. Kill me now. I beg you. Don't be in such a hurry to die." Lin Muyu said, "If you still have a conscience, tell me, what is the way to get rid of the death energy? Is there any way to get rid of the death energy in your body?" "Death energy?" Ghost Hammer laughed coldly. "The death energy will corrode a person's body, making them look like me. Do you think you can get rid of it?" "But some people don't." "You mean the injuries caused by Dongfang Yen?" Ghost Hammer said. "Yes, it was caused by Dongfang Yen." Lin Muyu was a bit agitated. Do you know the way to cure this kind of corpse poison?" "There is no cure. Even if there is, I don't know because it is not the death energy, but the secret poison of the immortal deity technique. In the whole world, I'm afraid only your master has a way to cure it." Who is your master?" Lin Muyu was a bit confused. Why are you asking so many questions? Why are you talking so much to a person who is about to die?" Ghost Hammer's expression became even more ferocious, and he laughed out loud. "Looks like someone close to you has been poisoned. That's great, that's really great. The heavens have eyes, let him die, let him accompany me in death. I was just worrying about not having a companion at the gates of hell. Die, all of you go to hell, as you wish." The Xianyuan sword rose up, and the last part of Ghost Hammer's body turned into a pile of ashes in the air, disappearing with the wind. Some people should have died long ago, just because they didn't meet the person who would end them. After nearly an hour of fierce fighting, the corpse nurturing plane was already in a mess. Broken limbs that hadn't been completely burned were everywhere, emitting a nauseating smell. Lin Muyu took a deep breath. Nearly 30% of the divine power in her body had been consumed, and she couldn't go any further. She slowly landed on the ground and found a rock to sit on. She took out a piece of beef from her cosmos sack and ate it with a flask of spirit fruit wine. She had to maintain sufficient stamina and divine power to better deal with the impending danger. Furthermore, there was no need to rush to find that so-called master because she could feel that this master was also waiting for her. That overbearing aura had always been there, but it was a little vague and unfathomable. After resting for nearly 2 hours, the divine power in her body was full. After eating a peacefulness berry, she picked up the Xianyuan sword and continued to fly slowly along the ground to the depths of the corpse-nurturing plain. Looking up at the sky, Lin Muyu was a little anxious, and she rose up and went straight to the sky. Swish, 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 streams of death fire rushed towards her. She raised the Xianyuan sword horizontally and turned it into upstanding qi to block these streams of fire. Sounds could be heard, as if the flames had collided with an ice wall. However, the price was that Lin Muyu's divine power was rapidly depleted. This won't do. He hurriedly turned over and landed on the ground. These flowing fire of death were the natural protection wall of the corpse-nurturing plane after tens of thousands of years, just like the atmosphere of the earth. It was these flowing fire of death that prevented the corpse qi of the corpse-nurturing plane from leaking out. This kind of power was not something that a single person could resist, even a supreme martial artist could not. Forcibly dispersing it would only be a waste of effort. Panting, Lin Muyu continued to move along the ground to the depths of the corpse-nurturing plane, with a trace of unwillingness in her heart, and headed straight for the breath of the master. There was no obstruction after 7 or 8 miles, but further forward, there was a huge basin in front of her, about 50 meters deep, so big that it would waste a lot of time to go around. Although she knew that this basin was not so simple, Lin Muyu still jumped down and walked in the basin. Grass began to grow here. Although it was some black weeds that could not survive for too long, at least there was a trace of vitality, which made people feel a little more comfortable. While moving forward, Lin Muyu looked around her. From afar, there seemed to be something at the edge of the basin. When she took a closer look, it was a hole that seemed to have been made by insects, and there was a faint glow of fire in the hole. Under the spiritual pulse technique, there was a surge of breath in the hole, and it was no surprise that it was the power of death. Here it comes again. Lin Muyu sighed and slowly pulled out the Xianyuan sword. Another battle was inevitable in this basin. As expected, very soon, the whole basin trembled slightly. Not long after, a rolling shadow appeared in the hole in the distance, like a roulette. That was a corpse beast, right? Bang, 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 the ground trembled even more violently. It was a giant elephant, and on the back of the giant elephant stood a middle-aged man wearing golden armor. His face was covered in bright green paint, used to hide his rotten muscles. Soon, more and more corpse beasts gathered, making it impossible for Lin Muyu to escape. Moreover, he did not seem to want to escape at all. "Who are you?" Lin Muyu asked from afar. "Me." The person on the giant elephant laughed loudly. "You actually don't know me? I am a famous handsome man in the corpse-nurturing plains, and also a great general that controls 10,000 rolling corpse beasts. You can call me General Hua." "General Hua?" Lin Muyu found it funny. "What happened to your face?" "Don't ask me what happened to my face. Your armor looks very beautiful. I want it." General Hua hooked his finger. "Your sword is also not bad. It's also mine." Lin Muyu smiled. "Then what can I leave behind?" "You can leave nothing behind." The corners of General Hua's mouth curled into a hideous smile. "Those who enter the corpse cave basin, apart from their souls being able to ascend to heaven, their flesh and blood will also belong to me. Furthermore, who exactly are you? How did you manage to get past that idiot Ghost Hammer?" "I've already sent Ghost Hammer to the afterlife," Lin Muyu said casually. "Oh." General Hua squinted his eyes. "Then it seems like I can't underestimate you. Rolling corpse beasts, prepare to attack. Chop this brat into pieces, and bring his corpse to your master to receive a reward." Hee hee. The rolling corpse beasts opened their bloody mouths and looked at their prey ferociously. Lin Muyu frowned. The corpse cave basin was not so easy to pass. First of all, General Hua's power was far above Ghost Hammer. Judging from his death aura, he was at least at the level of a perfected divine emperor. Secondly, the rolling corpse beasts were hard to deal with as almost every one of them had the power of a hierarch. They could exhaust them to death even if they could not kill them. That was the scariest part. Lin Muyu knew he could not fight alone anymore. He immediately waved his palm and a six-pointed star appeared under his feet. Icatosaurus, come and help me. Roar, 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 golden scales appeared on the ground, and in a blink of an eye, a mighty ancient divine dragon appeared in the sky. It was Icatosaurus, but its scales were golden. It seemed to have evolved once, and even its master, Lin Muyu, did not know when it evolved. Roar! Icatosaurus bared his fangs and claws and roared at the rolling corpse beasts, displaying his prowess as a dragon king, causing the rolling corpse beasts to tremble in fear. Some of them even took a few steps back. What are you afraid of, a bunch of trash? General Hua suddenly pulled out a dazzling long sword and shouted, Go! The one who kills this brat, get the 10,000 men beast. The one who kills the dragon, get the 10,000 men beast. Lin Muyu almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Was this General Hua really here to stop her? Or is he here to be a joke? Chapter 1046. Roar, roar, roar. The half-rotten rolling corpse beasts curled up their bodies, and their bodies were surrounded by poisonous death chi. They rolled over like wheels at an extremely fast speed, just like their name. The rumbling sound and the roars of the rolling corpse beasts filled the entire basin. It was a dark mass which looked really scary. The Xianyuan sword was lowered, and the light of divine power was faintly discernible. Lin Muyu gently patted the head of Icatosaurus beside her and said, Kill at will. Just don't get killed. Roar. With a dragon's roar, Icatosaurus's body slowly wriggled in the air. There was a white cloud around each of its 5 claws, which was an energy block condensed by the divine dragon power. When Icatosaurus opened its mouth, the air was already full of violent crackling sounds. It was thunder. Icatosaurus could not only summon wind and rain, but also thunder and lightning. Boom, boom, boom. Beams of lightning blasted out terrifying large pits in front of them. Icatosaurus waved its sharp claws and flew towards them. It opened its mouth and spat out a sweeping flame. This was the dragon flame of the divine dragon clan. How could those rolling corpse beasts withstand it? In the blink of an eye, they were all burned to ashes. Lin Muyu was not idle either. Icatosaurus blocked the rear, while he had to block the front. With a gentle wave of the Xianyuan sword, a beam of sword chi dozens of meters long whizzed out and cut a rolling corpse beast in half. Not surprisingly, the rolling corpse beast did not seem to have the ability to regenerate. It was just that its skin was rough and its flesh was thick. If it died, it was dead. His movements became faster and faster. Sword chi crisscrossed in front of Lin Muyu, leaving sharp and astonishing marks on the ground of the basin. The corpses of the rolling corpse beasts soon piled up in piles. He only used the chaos of all lives to kill the enemy and did not use any other moves. The first brilliance consumed less power, so it was very useful at this time. As time passed, it was impossible to calculate how many rolling corpse beasts had died. However, rumbling sounds could still be heard from afar. There were still undead armies that had yet to emerge from the corpse caves. This made Lin Muyu a little worried. What worried her even more was General Hua, who was watching the battle from afar. General Hua was a smart person. She was not in a hurry to make a move. She only ordered the rolling corpse beasts to consume Lin Muyu and Icatosaurus's strength. In the blink of an eye, nearly 2 hours had passed. Lin Muyu's arms were a little sore from hacking. She didn't know how many times she had waved the Xianyuan sword. Icatosaurus had almost exhausted its dragon power by spitting out flames. Just by sticking out its tongue, it could only spit out flames of 2 or 3 meters. Use the firestorm wheel. Lin Muyu glanced at Icatosaurus and said. The little dragon's obedient head suddenly began to curl up. Suddenly, the sharp dragon armor on its back protruded. The whole dragon instantly turned into a huge wheel and rushed straight into the battle formation of the rolling corpse beasts. The rolling corpse beasts also had scales, but they were obviously not comparable to Acatosaurus. In an instant, they were pierced into a bloody mess. This situation was like a huge steel wheel crushing a fragile snail. If Acatosaurus had used the power of law before as a magic attack, then now Acatosaurus was purely using physical attacks to kill the enemy. Even General Hua, who was in the distance, frowned and said to himself, "What kind of sacred beast is this? It's so powerful. It's even more powerful than the ancient divine beasts. Even thousands of rolling corpse beasts can't do anything to it? Damn it." On the side, an ugly, half-human, half-beast servant of the corpse cultivation plane pointed his finger and said a few words to General Hua. He seemed to be trying to persuade General Hua. General Hua held his sword and said lightly, "This Lin Muyu killed Ghost Hammer. She is destined to die. As for this dragon, if we can capture it, it's not a bad idea to make it the guardian beast of our corpse cave basin." He passed the order to continue the attack. When they exhaust their strength, it will be the day of our great success. Use the demon sound drum. The servant quickly rushed into the distance. There, a rotten war flag and a ferocious giant drum were erected on a huge rock. The servant began to beat the drum with all his strength to pass the order. Dun, dun, dun. Every beat of the drum produced a sound wave. Moreover, it was a sound wave that made people feel dizzy. Lin Muyu, who was fighting a group of rolling corpse beasts, couldn't help but feel her mind waver. This war drum was famous. The sound was like a strand of power that drilled into one's blood, causing one's strength to begin to dissipate. How could this be? Acatosaurus, you block it? I'll go destroy that drum. Lin Muyu flew off after giving the order. The Xianyuan sword opened the way. How could the rolling corpse beasts resist? They were all turned into a pile of minced meat. Dun, dun, dun. The sound of the drum became more and more intense. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. The divine power in her body was dissipating. This war drum was definitely famous. Moreover, it seemed like the drum had no effect on the rolling corpse beasts. Could it be that it only had an effect on the living? In the distance, General Hua stood on the back of the giant elephant. He squinted his eyes and smiled. As expected, this kid can't withstand the demon sound drum's attack. Block him for me at all costs. Corpse demon, get ready to move out. Buzz, buzz. A layer of invisible waves spread out on the ground, as if something was moving underground. The three rolling corpse beasts let out a final roar. Finally, they were dismembered by Lin Muyu's sword. The demon sound drum was just ahead, less than 100 meters away. Lin Muyu looked at General Hua from afar. The ruler of the corpse cave basin didn't move at all. It seemed that General Hua didn't want to stop her from destroying the mysterious war drum. Swoosh, swoosh. The divine power of light flowed and quickly condensed into a celestial dragon crystal on the blade of the Xianyuan sword. With a shout from Lin Muyu, the celestial dragon crystal flew out of her hand and went straight to the war drum. However, when the celestial dragon crystal flew less than 20 meters away, a barrier suddenly appeared in the air. Bang! With a loud noise, the celestial dragon crystal turned into powder, and the barrier also disappeared without a trace. The ground trembled violently. Blood-red energy whirled up and quickly condensed into human figures. They were two humans wearing black and white armor, holding a spear and two swords respectively. However, they weren't ordinary humans. They were sturdy giants with a height of 2.5 meters. Black and white corpse demons. Whether we can kill this Lin Muyu or not depends on you two. Go. General Hua ordered from afar. The two corpse demons didn't seem to know how to speak. They responded with roars and attacked from the left and right with a terrifying momentum. The sound of weapons cutting through the air was very ear-piercing. Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. This wasn't the ordinary sound of cutting through the air. The sound of ordinary weapons cutting through the air wouldn't be so ear-piercing. These two weapons didn't cut through the air, but the dimension. Good heavens, this corpse nurturing plane is really a place with many hidden talents. Two mere watchdogs have this kind of ability? No wonder the people of the 64 domains were unwilling to touch the corpse nurturing plane for so many years. So that's why. Others didn't dare to move, but Lin Muyu didn't necessarily dare to move. Holding the Xianyuan sword in her right hand, her left hand reached for her waist, and a little magic noise blade was already in her palm. Facing the attack of the black and white corpse demons, Lin Muyu didn't retreat but advanced instead. Using the fallen star steps, her figure passed through the middle of the two corpse demons like lightning. With two clang-clang sounds, the Xianyuan sword and the little magic noise blade blocked the long spear and the double sword of the two corpse demons respectively. The power of the law under her feet rotated rapidly, and the spirit beads of law had already broken out of her body. The speed at which Lin Muyu turned around was much faster than that of the black and white corpse demons. With a turn of her body, she waved the long sword and the little magic noise blade to launch a fierce attack on the back of the white corpse demon. The roar of the white corpse was filled with astonishment. Suddenly, he turned around and slashed out with the sword in his left hand. With a dang sound, the blade actually withstood the power of the Xianyuan sword and didn't break. But at the same time, the little magic noise blade in Lin Muyu's left hand quietly passed by. Crack, a wound about 10 centimeters deep appeared on the white armor of the white corpse demon, directly revealing the rotten flesh below. In the dimensional cold wind, the black corpse demon's long spear quickly pierced over. Lin Muyu didn't think too much. She turned her body in the air and used the Xianyuan sword to parry the black corpse demon's long spear. At the same time, her right leg was filled with the profound energy of the two glorious demonic dance, drawing a domineering arc and directly kicking the neck of the white corpse demon. Kacha sound. Most likely the bones in the neck of the white corpse demon were broken. However, a demon was a demon, injured but not dead. He waved the two swords and slashed at the legs of Lin Muyu. How could Lin Muyu be at a disadvantage? Before the blade of the white corpse demon reached, she shouted in a low voice, "7 luminaries immortal gourd." Swoosh, 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 golden vines suddenly appeared in the air and quickly bound white corpse's wrist. With his wrist restrained, white corpse's slash naturally stopped halfway. On the other hand, Lin Muyu quickly used the rebound of the black corpse demon's attack to quickly charge at white corpse. Her figure flashed, and the blade of the sword carried a strong purple lightning. Crack! Lin Muyu's body almost flew around white corpse's body, and the Xianyuan sword also circled around white corpse demon's neck. In the next moment, rotten blood burst out, and white corpse demon's huge head slowly rolled down from his body. He knelt on the ground, and the two swords swayed weakly in the air a few times before lying down. White corpse demon, did. Roar, roar. Seeing that his companion had died, black corpse let out a sorrowful cry. The long spear in his hand quickly stabbed out with a blood-colored energy attack. Lin Muyu couldn't dodge in time, and could only use the dragon blood shield with one hand to defend. Pung pang ping. Her body trembled violently. The strength of the black and white corpse demons was indeed frightening. This round of attack made Lin Muyu's left arm feel weak. She couldn't delay, and had to end the battle quickly. Lin Muyu slashed in the air, and black corpse blocked it with his long spear. Immediately, the chaos of the lives spread along the long spear. Before black corpse demon could react, Lin Muyu's next attack had already arrived. It was the attack of the little magic sonar blade. Snowflakes floated on the blade, and that was the jade snow ice energy of the star arts. Chi, the little magic sonar blade stabbed straight into black corpse demon's neck, and the cold energy quickly swept through the demon's neck. At this moment, black corpse demon was already stunned, and his movements also slowed down a lot. Die! Lin Muyu kicked black corpse demon's head in the air. Suddenly, there was a crisp sound, and the frozen neck directly broke. Black corpse demon's body fell down, and lay together with white corpse demon. Shwa! The little magic sonar blade flew out, and it quickly pierced through the demonic sound drum in the distance. Then, it smoothly swept past, and took care of the servant who was beating the drum. Shwa shwa shwa! The flying dagger flew in the air with a sharp sound. General Hua's body trembled, and his face was full of disgust. B*****, you actually killed so many of my people. Unforgivable, unforgivable. Chapter 1047. Bastard, it's time for you to die. General Hua quickly unsheathed his sword. This sword was streamlined, elegant, and dignified, but the sword was surrounded by a thick bloody aura that was wild and ostentatious. It was a good sword, but it had already been demonized in the corpse-nurturing planes. Swoosh! General Hua leaped forward. He could sense that Lin Muyu's strength had declined to about 60%. This was the best time to kill him. The sword was full of cold aura. General Hua attacked while shouting, "I'll let you see the power of the Dong Hua sword." Dong Hua sword? Lin Muyu was stunned. He quickly put away the demonic noise saber and held the Xianyuan sword tightly with both hands. 3 luminaries calamity. The Xianyuan sword and the Dong Hua sword collided violently. At the same time, the power of death around General Hua and Lin Muyu's 7 luminaries' profound energy surged. Explosions caused by the collision of the profound energies sounded continuously, causing the Acatosaurus and the rolling corpse beasts, who were fighting in the distance, to look over in shock. Hiss, hiss! The clothes on Lin Muyu's wrist had already begun to burn and evaporate. General Hua's strength was indeed not weak. This Dong Hua sword was definitely one of the divine artifacts. It could actually compete with the Xianyuan sword in terms of strength. The intense power of death crazily attacked her body. Lin Muyu also felt rather uncomfortable at this moment. The most terrifying thing about fighting with an expert of the law of death was not the opponent's strength, but the all-pervasive power of death. If she was not careful, she might end up like Qin Yin. But when she thought of Qin Yin, Lin Muyu felt a surge of strength rising from the bottom of her heart. The divine power in her arms seemed to have increased a lot. Clang, 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 beams of golden light bloomed in the air. In the blink of an eye, the weapons of the two had collided nearly 100 times. Under the mighty power of the Xianyuan sword, the Dong Hua sword was not damaged at all. Moreover, it seemed to be getting stronger as the battle went on. Lin Muyu gasped for breath. The Xianyuan sword in his hand shone brightly, and the white cloak of the Qiyu armor fluttered behind him, making him look like a god of war. General Hua felt even worse. For thousands of years, the number of God state experts who had died under General Hua's Dong Hua sword was in the double digits. However, there had never been anyone like Lin Muyu. His divine power made General Hua feel extremely uncomfortable. That kind of blazing, unrestrained, and majestic power was what the law of death feared the most. Furthermore, the scariest thing was that General Hua had met many God the Arch-Realm experts, but none of them were as good at fighting as Lin Muyu. The battle between God Realm experts was not just about strength, it was also a game of skills and battle tactics. General Hua had never seen Lin Muyu's ability to change and attack ingeniously in battle. This was also the scariest part about her. Swish! In a moment of distraction, the Xianyuan sword had already scratched General Hua's knee. Immediately, a strong wave of supreme divine power seeped into it. Ah! General Hua's scream was very miserable. He had already realized that he had lost. But why? General Hua's attack began to become disorganized, and he was simply fighting with the power of death. Buzz! The Dong Hua sword carried a thick blood-red color as it stabbed forward. Lin Muyu saw it clearly. Suddenly, she flipped her wrist and used the hilt of the Xianyuan sword to hold onto the reverse streamline of the blade of the Dong Hua sword. Her left hand quickly blasted out, filled with the dark energy of the chaos of the lives. If she did not dodge this attack, perhaps General Hua's arm would be destroyed. You! In his shock, General Hua had no choice but to let go of his sword. Lin Muyu took advantage of the situation, and in the next moment, the Dong Hua sword was already in his hand. Under the attack of the power of light, the power of death in the Dong Hua sword was quickly dispelled. Suddenly, this peerless divine weapon revealed its original appearance. It shone brightly and was crystal clear. Vast divine power kept circulating within it. It was indeed a good thing. With a sword in one hand, Lin Muyu raised his eyebrows and looked at General Hua. He said, "Admit defeat. Let me leave this corpse cave basin, and maybe I can consider letting you live." General Hua looked straight at him and was silent for nearly half a minute. Suddenly he said, "If I let you go, what awaits me is still death. Your master will not let me go. What if I kill your master as well?" Lin Muyu shook the Dong Hua sword in his hand. General Hua pondered for a moment and did not say anything. Lin Muyu continued, "If you continue to resist now, you will definitely die. But if you let me go and withdraw your army of death, then perhaps you will have a chance to live. The chance for me to kill your master is the chance for you to live. You should be able to settle such a simple score, right?" "All right." General Hua finally lowered his head and suddenly blew a whistle. Immediately, the rolling corpse beasts that were fighting with Acatosaurus on the ground dispersed like the tide, returning to the corpse cave. "Sit down and have a chat?" Lin Muyu smiled amicably. He needed time to recover his divine power. If he recklessly went to fight his master now, he would most likely lose his life. General Hua had already accepted his fate of defeat. He nodded and said, "If you don't mind the rotting smell in the corpse cave, how about we go to the corpse cave?" "I don't mind. Let's just stay on the ground." "All right." General Hua smiled awkwardly. The two of them landed together on the ground after the battle. The divine power in Lin Muyu's body circulated and began to rapidly recover his strength. Meanwhile, General Hua's gaze was fixed on the Dong Hua sword. "You want the Dong Hua sword back?" Lin Muyu asked with a smile. "Yes." "No way. It's mine now. I need it." "Then don't." "That's more like it." Lin Muyu smiled at him and asked, "When did you die?" General Hua was silent for a few seconds and said, "About 5,000 years ago. I was still young then. After I died, my bones were dragged into the corpse-nurturing plains. Then I was resurrected by your master and became like this." "Tell me about your master. I need to know more about him. Otherwise, I'm afraid the chances are slim." General Hua nodded and thought for a moment. "No one in the corpse-nurturing plains has ever seen your master's true face. He is very mysterious. He has always existed in the void, receiving the corpses of mortals to pass messages and teach the immortal deity technique. Why doesn't your master show his true face to others?" "I don't know either. Maybe it's to hide something?" Lin Muyu thought for a moment and asked, "General, do you know what's weak about your master?" General Hua couldn't help but laugh. "To be honest, I don't know either. No one has ever seen your master. It's as if he doesn't exist. How can something that doesn't exist be weak? Then, how can I find your master?" Lin Muyu continued to ask. "Well," General Hua hesitated for a moment and said, "Your master has always existed in the deepest part of the corpse-nurturing plains. It's called the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. There are countless corpses there. It's also a place that I guard. The 10,000 Corpse Ridge is only 30 miles from here. I think your master should have already sensed your arrival. Now, even if you want to leave, you probably can't. Will your master come to the corpse cave basin to kill me?" Lin Muyu asked. "That won't happen." General Hua pondered for a moment. "In my memory, your master never leaves the 10,000 Corpse Ridge. Even if he summons us, he would only send his dead servants." "What exactly is this master?" Lin Muyu was a little annoyed. General Hua smiled. "You'll know when you go to the corpse-nurturing plains. I can only wish you good luck. Only if you kill your master can I continue to live. Otherwise, I'm afraid I'll end up like the previous guardian." Soul refining. Oh, Lin Muyu had heard of soul refining when she was in the ghost realm. This kind of evil art could only be done by her master, who was neither human nor ghost, and the ghosts and immortals in the ghost realm. Up ahead, who else could possibly stop me? "No, unless it's someone close to your master," General Hua said. "What do you mean by someone close to your master?" "They are just some corpse slaves raised by your teacher. There are also some people who enter the corpse-nurturing plane halfway, just like Dongfang Yen. Those people are extremely powerful. They sell their souls and bodies for power. Their power is so strong that no one can resist them. Oh, I get it. Lin Muyu stretched out his hand. Since you've already given me the Donghua sword, can you give me the scabbard? Oh, General Hua smiled awkwardly. He untied the scabbard and gave it to Lin Muyu. Nearly 4 hours later, the sky darkened. The divine power in Lin Muyu's body was full again. In fact, he had been worried that his master would cause trouble during this time. But it seemed that this master was very mysterious. He actually let him recover his divine power. It was really strange. After saying goodbye to General Hua, he ordered Acatosaurus to return to the alternate space to rest and recover. Then he embarked on a new journey. For a god-emperor like him, there was no difference between day and night. It was not bad to visit the legendary master of the corpse nurturing plains in the middle of the night. The further he went, the thicker the corpse aura became. It was as if he had stepped into purgatory. Occasionally, 1 or 2 stupid corpse slaves would come looking for trouble. However, Lin Muyu took care of them with a casual strike. After a series of fierce battles, Lin Muyu felt that the power in his body had reached a peak. If he wanted to continue improving, he had to break through a bottleneck. And this bottleneck was the 80th level of the Grotto Heaven realm. However, it seemed that this realm was not simple. Every time there was a sign of a breakthrough, it would disappear without a trace. Flying at a low altitude for dozens of miles, the sky in front of him became clear. There was a blood moon in the sky. He could faintly see black crows circling in the sky. He did not know if they were black crows or not. Lin Muyu became more cautious. An extremely powerful aura seemed to be sleeping. Once it was awakened, it would be troublesome. There were corpses everywhere in the 10,000 corpse ridge. There was not a single inch of the ground that was intact. Clang! Clang! The Xinyuan sword and the Donghua sword were almost unsheathed at the same time. Lin Muyu carried the 2 swords and slowly stepped on the rotten ground into the 10,000 corpse ridge. No matter who this master was, Lin Muyu had to face this strong enemy. Chapter 1048. A flock of black crows circled above her head. Lin Muyu carried her 2 swords and walked forward step by step. The spirit meridian technique spread out. The chi in the 10,000 corpse ridge was very chaotic. It was violent and raging. The death chi was so thick that it made people almost unable to breathe. Piles of corpses stood like small mountains, and in the distance were corpse beasts crawling among the corpses. They were motionless, as if they were enjoying absorbing the aura of death. Crack! Crushing an unknown bone under her foot, Lin Muyu couldn't help but frown. At this time, a gloomy voice sounded from the blood-colored mountain ridge in the distance. Trespassing into the corpse nurturing plains, you really didn't take the road to heaven, but instead came to hell. This voice was somewhat familiar. Although it was a bit hoarse, she could vaguely recognize it. Lin Muyu looked up. Under the moonlight, a person wearing a black robe stood on the hillside, his long hair dancing in the cold wind. Looking closely, that face was familiar yet strange. It was covered with small ulcers, and a tyrannical aura of death lingered around him. This person's aura was too similar to Dongfang Yan's, but it wasn't Dongfang Yan's. You are? Lin Muyu chuckled. You're Dongfang Jin, right? I didn't expect you to be the same as Dongfang Yan, selling your body for power. But, do you think this is useful? Dongfang Jin laughed maniacally and said, Lin Muyu, aren't you being too arrogant? This corpse nurturing plains isn't just guarded by me, Dongfang Jin. With just you, heh, you're simply throwing your life away. Corpse demon guards, what are you waiting for? Kill this little Dragon League master for me. Perhaps, in the eyes of the demon dwellers of the corpse nurturing plains, a mere Dragon League wasn't worth mentioning. Rustling sounds came from the surrounding soil as death energy flowed back, condensing into dark shadows, just like the black and white twin demons. These corpse demons were far stronger than the corpse beasts and corpse slaves, and each of them had a weapon, which was at least a substandard god artifact. From this, one could see how much effort the master had spent to create this corpse demon army. Lin Muyu didn't move at all. She looked fearlessly at the corpses that appeared one after another. There was a total of 15 corpses, and each of them had the cultivation of 70th Grotto Heaven Realm God the Arch. This was extremely troublesome. Even though these corpses weren't proficient in battle techniques, it was still difficult to deal with them with brute force alone. Dongfang Jin laughed coldly. You dare to come to the corpse nurturing plains alone? Do you think you can conquer the entire corpse nurturing plains just by killing a few corpse demons and beasts? Let me tell you the truth. In corpse cultivation plains, besides your respected master, there are also 11 devil spirit commanders and nearly 100 corpse demons. The number of corpse demons and corpse beasts number in the hundreds of thousands. Can you kill them all by yourself? Lin Muyu raised the Xianyuan sword and pointed it straight at Dongfang Jin. I can still kill you. Let's deal with the corpse demons in front of us first. Otherwise, you're not qualified to challenge me at all. I'm afraid you won't even have the chance to challenge me. Let's talk about it after we get through this. Dongfang Jin laughed extremely arrogantly, even more arrogant than his uncle, Dongfang Yen. Roar! A group of corpse demons had already surrounded Lin Muyu quietly. Almost every corpse demon had already started to raise their qi. The surrounding black qi danced wildly, and a gloomy aura spread rapidly. Moreover, these corpse demons all had different weapons. There were long swords, axes, spears, and strange weapons like the heavenly halberd and the octagonal purple golden hammer. This made it even more difficult to deal with them. With a shrill scream, 3 corpse demons attacked almost at the same time. A heavy black warhammer fell from above, followed by a sword and a spear. All 3 directions had been blocked, and the pervasive death aura flew over like a flood. Behind her were the attacks of the other 5 corpse demons at the same time. On the ground, the energy of the tentacles of death was dancing, which made Lin Muyu feel that there was no way out. However, this was just an illusion. The difference of half a second between real experts was like the difference between heaven and earth. Swish, swish, a ray of golden light flowed through Lin Muyu's fingertips. That's right, it was the power of samsara. At that moment, the flow of time at Lin Muyu's position slowed down by more than 10 times. The weapons that seemed to be falling at the same time also showed a flaw, a huge flaw. The Xianyuan sword shone brightly. Lin Muyu sidestepped the attack of the warhammer, and the Donghua sword fiercely blocked the thrust of the spear. The Xianyuan sword chopped on the neck of a corpse demon with the divine power of a fatal blow. Bang! The whole head was almost instantly destroyed by Lin Muyu's divine power of light and exploded. The flesh and bones were instantly evaporated into beams of spiritual splendor that soared into the sky. All the phenomena of heaven and earth, listen to my command. Take advantage of the power of heaven and earth. The 2 heavenly weapons became thicker and sharper. Lin Muyu's figure flashed like a dream and fiercely chopped twice. 3 glorious beings calamity. The violent airflow rushed around, and in the blink of an eye, another 2 corpse demons became corpses. Bang! The ground behind him suddenly sank, and he felt a sharp pain. His shoulders seemed to have been hit by an axe. Although he couldn't split open Lin Muyu's spirit wall, his strength had been damaged. There were too many corpse demons, and their attacks were coordinated and orderly. No matter how fast Lin Muyu was, she was not completely flawless. But the battlefield was like this. The smallest damage in exchange for the greatest results was a truth that Lin Muyu had long understood for many years. When the sword shattered the head of the 4th corpse demon, the golden elephant wheel under Lin Muyu's feet spun rapidly. Under the bombardment of dozens of elephant wheels, several corpse demons hurriedly raised their weapons and retreated to block. Ping, ping, ping. The sound of explosions was continuous. These corpse demons were very good, and their defense was flawless. But the real flaw was the disparity of strength. This time, Lin Muyu didn't hold back her strength. She turned around and chopped down with both swords. With a shout, the dark power of the 6 glorious heavenly tribulation blasted into the position of the 4 corpse demons like a mad dragon. Boom! Heaven and earth were reversed, and the space was extremely distorted. Beams of divine power easily devoured the bodies of the 4 corpse demons, turning their bodies into dust and dust. In less than half a minute, 8 corpse demons died in battle. Dongfang Jin watched quietly, with no sadness or joy on his face. The death of these corpse demons had nothing to do with him. But what was worth celebrating was that after Lin Muyu used a stronger move, the consumption of divine power also increased visibly. This was definitely good news for Dongfang Jin. Roar! The corpse demons opened their mouths and roared, but a golden light flashed, and the Xianyuan sword pierced directly into the mouth of a corpse demon. Lin Muyu's arm trembled slightly, and the blade shook, directly shattering the head of the corpse demon. But at this moment, the 2 corpse demons on the left attacked at the same time. Lin Muyu waved the Dong Hua sword without thinking. Bang! The power was shocking, and the 2 corpse demons were shaken back nearly 10 meters. But at this moment, a cold light suddenly appeared in the air, and with a chi sound, Lin Muyu felt a burning pain on her right arm. The god wall was pierced, and she was injured. And it was a blood-red dagger that stabbed her. It was a silent corpse demon with 2 daggers, like an assassin, who caused the first injury to Lin Muyu. After the successful attack, the corpse demon immediately retreated, but it was too easy for Lin Muyu to kill him. The depths of the earth trembled, and a bunch of gourd vines rushed out of the ground, directly binding the legs of the corpse demon. Lin Muyu slashed down from the sky with a sword chi, and a golden light fell from the sky. The corpse demon's eyes were wide open, and he couldn't escape. He let out a sharp scream, and was instantly evaporated into a pile of dust by the sword chi. The 10th. There were only 5 corpse demons left. He's injured, kill him for me, it's too easy. Dongfang Jin said coldly, neither far nor near. Lin Muyu, on the other hand, raised the corner of her mouth. She was actually able to deal with the attacks of the 5 corpse demons with ease. Her body suddenly fell backward. Her heroic posture was like an iron plank bridge. At the same time, she dodged the axe and a ray of light flowed out from her left combat boot. It was the power of Jade Snow. She kicked the 11th corpse demon from below and instantly turned it into a pile of crushed ice. The Xianyuan sword and the Donghua sword quickly attacked together, smashing the heads of the other 2 corpse demons. Behind her, suddenly, a bang sound was heard, and she was hit violently. Lin Muyu couldn't help but spit out blood, and took a few steps forward. The one who hit her was a corpse demon with a heavy shield, and it was also the strongest corpse demon in this group of corpse demons. Swish! A cold arrow shot quickly, and it was the only one among the 15 corpse demons who used a bow and arrow. The previous 7 or 8 arrows were all avoided by Lin Muyu, but the speed of this arrow was amazing, and it went straight for Lin Muyu's throat. It was too late to dodge, and it was even too late to use samsara. At the critical moment, Lin Muyu suddenly lowered her body without thinking, and opened her mouth to bite the arrow. With a bang sound, the handle of the black arrow was shattered, and the arrowhead was bitten by Lin Muyu. The shock made her feel a faint pain, but fortunately her life was saved, otherwise the arrow might have pierced her throat. Die! After spitting out the arrowhead, Lin Muyu rushed forward quickly, and the 2 swords fell on the heavy shield 7 or 8 times in a row, directly disintegrating the heavy shield. At the same time, the sword chi passed through the heavy shield and evaporated the corpse demons behind, so only the bow-wielding corpse demon in the distance was left. Lin Muyu was a little anxious, and she had to finish the battle quickly. Otherwise, according to Dongfang Jin, there were still 70 or 80 corpse demons of this strength, and she would be dead if they came. What are you chasing? Your opponent is me. In the air, a violent roar came. It was Dongfang Jin, who descended from the sky with a long saber in his hand. This saber was powerful, and if she didn't dodge or meet the attack, the consequences would be unimaginable. Lin Muyu was furious. Dongfang Jin was indeed a smart man, leaving a corpse demon with a longbow to cooperate with the reinforcements. What a good plan. You're tuning in to the Wandering Hero YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.